Okay, let's call this meeting to order, the regular meeting for the City Council of the City of Perry, on August 21st, 2023. And let's have roll call, please.
Coldarn.
Here.
Williams.
Here.
Brown. Here. Coffee.
Here.
White.
Here.
Marshall. Here. Davis. Here. Wortham.
Here. All right, I declare that we have quorum, and so I will offer the invocation for tonight. Father in heaven, we're grateful for this opportunity that we have to gather together as a city council, that we can discuss the needs of our community and our city. Father, we ask you to bless us with inspiration and guidance tonight as we discuss different matters in regards to the hospital and the direction that we need to take as a city government. And we're grateful for those who have come before us to share their thoughts with us, and these things we pray for in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Okay. So starting with item number 1, and so our agenda, we're going to move around a little bit as we go. We've got some folks here that are here to speak to us, and I want them to have a turn to speak before we have our big discussion in regards to the hospital, so they don't have to wait all night for us. So starting with item 1, the consent agenda.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Coldarn.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Brown. Yes. Coffee.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
Davis. Yes. Wortham.
Yes. Okay. So we'll skip down to item number 4, citizens desiring to be heard. And so we allow time for folks to come and speak before the council. Just to kind of give you a little precursor with that. The things that are brought before the council during this portion, the council cannot take action on this, but it is something that we can place on a future agenda if we feel that that is appropriate. And so we do have someone that would like to come before us today, and that's Gary McNabb. So I'll turn the time over to you, sir.
Thank you. I have a handout. It is statistics for the Perry Recycle. I didn't want to include it in my speaking, but I thought I'd give y'all an idea of what the recycling has done since it has been started. I was just a volunteer. I had no desire to be any kind of leader, but I did volunteer to do the recycling. So I'm here to hopefully give you a positive outlook on what the recycling did. Thank you. You're welcome. You guys may have to split them for me.
We can do that.
You're welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Couldn't get it apart.
Thank you.
Okay, my name is Gary McNabb. I'm here to speak on behalf of the recycle program. If I need to give myself and my wife any credence, we have lived on Hardwick Street since 1975 in the same house. So we've been in Perry for that long. I thank the council for letting me come before you and at least give you what has happened in the Perry Recycle program. Okay, I received a notice, and it started, and it looks like I forgot to bring it. Back in January or February 2022, the city of Perry sent out a recycle bulletin that said they were going to start recycling. Of course, when I got it, being the redneck that I am, I said, I ain't going to recycle. Why would I recycle? I'm a man. I don't need to recycle. So I picked it up again, I don't know, a month or so later, and I looked at it and I thought, why not? Why not try it? So I blew it off for a while and then decided I was going to try it. And I went from taking 2 bags of the tall kitchen bags each time I went to the trash bin. 2 bags. And then when I started recycling, guess what? I was only taking 1. And I'm going, holy cow, that's a 50% reduction. 50% of my trash was helping because of the environment and everything like that. Perry Recycling has been recycling since February 26th of 2022. I've been involved as a helper, a volunteer for 5 months. There's about 45 steady volunteers that have been doing the work recycling. There's been help from a few groups like Bluebirds, and then a few other volunteers off and on would come in and help us. Unfortunately, not very many people know that we were even recycling. We did have on 8/12/23, which was 2 weeks ago Saturday, we had 61 cars that came through. It was a record. Now, 61 cars out of 5,000 people ain't too good. But for 4 or 5 people, that's a lot of trash or a lot of recycling that we would have to do. From what I understand, to my knowledge, and this is me, I was told that any money made would go to the beautification of Perry Fund. And as I look over the council this evening, in my 5 months of helping with the recycle, I don't remember seeing any of you councilmen at recycle. I know for a fact that no council members have helped with recycling. That tells me that the council does not favor or is not in tune or wanting to do recycling. There are people that's been helping with the recycle, and they're here with me tonight, and they want to know, and I want to know, what the council will do about recycling in Perry. Because as far as I know, I don't have a key. I'm not going to go down to the armory and do recycle. I'll volunteer, but I'm not going to be the one that jumps in the middle of it. Some of the reasons that we help with recycling is most people don't want to drive to Stillwater to do their recycling, and there's people that do. And we also want to do it for the citizens of Perry and for the environment. Also, the people that recycle, they want to reduce the amount of trash that's in the landfill. If the council decides to go ahead and continue recycling in some way, there will have to be more volunteers. Because on that 61 car day, it was hot, I was hot, everybody was hot, and we didn't even we separate the plastic from the cans, and we have bins that we put them in. And so all of us were just washed out because of 61 cars, to the point we couldn't get all the plastic put away. We just finally said at 12 o'clock we're going home. So we recycle on the 2nd and 4th Saturday of each month. This coming Saturday is the 4th Saturday. Well, guess what? Somebody from the city of Perry is going to have to put a sign on the armory that says no recycle until further notice, because I'm going to be gone. And as far as I know, we don't have a key and no way to do it. So, but if you decide that you want to continue, I will be happy to at least volunteer. But what I don't know, I can't say it bothers me, but what about the old people who are going to show up Saturday? They've already got all their little cans lined up and in their car, going to go down to recycle, and ain't nobody going to be there. So that's the fact of it that I hate to see, but I can't see any way around it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
again, this is something that we can put on a future agenda, perhaps the next agenda. I know that the recycle program is something that we do need to address. Did you have something there? Oh, no, sorry, I thought you raised your hand. So with that, I ask you guys to take that into consideration. Think about it, maybe reach out to some of the other volunteers and see if that's something that we can look into further. Is there anything else we brought before the council?
You talking about, were you asking for anybody else to comment on Gary's?
Sure, if you'd like to, yeah.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
I'd like to just say a couple of things. My name is Tim Endicott. I've served on the council before, many years ago, not many, but a lot. But I just wanted to say in Gary's, and Marby over here, they're 70-some years old. And I'm if they can do it, there's other people that can help with that. I'd just like for you to look at it as it's not a moneymaker. It never was intended to be a moneymaker. And if that's what you're thinking it's going to be, it's not. It's a service, like a service that you guys provide, the city of Perry. Okay? So it's important to recycle. I didn't think so until I started doing it. And he's right. It's about half of your garbage is eliminated, and you get to do something good for the city of Perry. Big cities are doing it. People all over the country are doing it. How many of you all are recycling?
I have.
1, 2? Okay.
I've even brought these.
If you guys don't get behind it, it's not going to work. But I just pray that you guys will, if you've been thinking about dropping it, because it doesn't make a whole lot of money, it does help the environment. And sometimes you just need to do the right thing. And I think it's the right thing to do. All over the country, we're talking about these landfills everywhere, and though this is a way of recycling, a lot of that could be half. I don't know. This is about what it works out for me too. Taking out 2 trash bags instead of now 1. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that think about it. It's a worthwhile deal that helps the environment, and we could use all the volunteers that you got. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Anyone else have anything to bring before the council?
I'm Rose Nye. I've lived here for 80 years. The streets in this town are horrible. Are y'all going to do something about it? 4th Street, many years ago, when Jim Davis was city manager, they were going to redo 4th Street so that all the buses coming into Allfield could go up there and get up there without bouncing the kids all over the bus. Well, something happened, and they got 2 blocks off 1st Street and 2 blocks up by the ball field. The middle 2 blocks is just there. It's almost impassable. That's been probably 10 years ago. Would somebody drive up and down 4th Street and see what I'm talking about? It's horrible. And it's not the only street. Anything east of 6th Street just kind of gets forgotten. We're just taxpayers and we have no rights and privileges. We'd like to see that changed.
Thank you. Okay. Anything else to be brought before the council? Seeing none. Thank you to those that commented this evening. Those are definitely things that we can take into consideration and look at on a future agenda. And so we appreciate you coming tonight. So let's move on to item number 5. Proclamations, commendations, reports, and inquiries by the city manager and/or governing body. So again, no action may be taken on any report or inquiry by the governing body. that we can place on a future agenda if deemed necessary. To start off though, we did want to recognize our water crew for this past week. And we've got Vernon here this evening. Vernon, we appreciate really all the work you guys have been putting in. You guys have worked tirelessly this last week with all the water breaks. Does anybody else have, any input or, Derek, you were there with them, Scott, you were there with them?
Those guys are unbelievable, just jump right in that big old mud hole and just go to work and never stop.
I wouldn't just say within the last week.
It's been
It
a
seems
few
like
weeks,
every
yeah.
couple of weeks they're doing this.
Yeah.
And maybe even more often than that, because we're only hearing about the bigger instances.
Right.
I know you guys work nonstop on this stuff. We do appreciate it.
Yeah, we truly do.
I'd just like to say the water crew's one crew you see out working a lot,
Mhm.
and you see them active and busy doing things, and it warms my heart to see city workers out doing their job.
Yeah. Especially being on call, and you guys just don't give up. You guys go until it's done. You guys don't put it off. Yeah. So, on behalf of the council, we thank you. Truly, thank you.
And your crew.
Me and Bryce had actually talked about this, and also on here's Animal Control Department.
Mhm.
What we are looking at doing is each council meeting will have, it'll be a praise to a department that has been out there doing whatever it is, and we're just gonna start kind of saying thank you publicly to these people who are behind the scenes of what we come here and do, and keep us running so we can take our baths and see where we're going. And the other part of it is we're going to, I hadn't talked to Brian about it yet, but we're going to look at maybe having animal control bring an animal towards one of the councils and just kind of as an honorary adoption, and if you adopt it within that month, then we will waive all fees and do something of that nature to try to help get rid of some of the animals that we have that have no homes. Do something like that. So Vernon gets to be the first, and then we'll have Brian set it up with Aaron with the other meeting.
Excellent. Good deal. So with that, does Animal Control have a presentation for us?
Not at this time.
Oh, okay. All right. And we will continue on to item number 6, acting city manager remarks. What you got for us, Christie?
Well, actually, we are getting ready to do I think I've passed them all out, utility survey. It's done by OMPA. This year, they've actually got the QR code. You can do it couple different ways. We're going to get it on our website. We're actually going to put it on Facebook, and get the link there. And it's just a way for us to find out, and OMPA to find out how are we doing. There's a few questions. I actually was one of the first ones that did it because I just want to see how long it was. It is a little, it's not real bad, but so we're just getting ready to launch that. Autumn made up these for us. They're going to be in the lobby at City Hall, and as customers come in and pay, they can pick up their little flyer, take it home, and choose their way to answer the survey. But we hope everybody out there logs in and does it.
How long is it live?
It is through, I think, October, so it's out there for a little while. I think it's mid-October. That's all I really had this time.
That's all you got? All
Oh,
right.
yeah, because I didn't know I was going to talk still. But I thought, well, at least to get that out there, that we're getting ready to share that. It's fixing to go on Facebook and everything else, so.
Good deal. Thank you, Christie.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you for filling in as our acting city manager as well.
Not a problem.
Moving right along, let's go to item number 7, presentation of the Chief Financial Officer Monthly Report.
Hi guys, I'm in for Russ this month. He was here on Friday, so he set me up. He didn't want to drive the 4-hour trip again. But you've got July financials in front of you. We're 1 month into the fiscal year. Total cash up about 2% from when we were last month. Two big things that happened in the month of July. $144,000 of FEMA reimbursement from the ice storm in 2022. So I know Christie's worked on it. I'm not sure. I think maybe Russell Brand. Several people have been working on trying to get this reimbursement. And finally, in July of '23, we're receiving our FEMA money, $144,000. You'll see that deposited over in the general fund. And the other piece that is helping our cash balances right now is our interest income. Over $25,000 recorded in the general fund in interest income, which is a nice boost based upon the rates that we have right now, which is very strong. Any questions on the cash schedule before I flip over to the general fund? Okay. General fund, we are 1 month in. 8% of budget is where we should be. And you'll see sales tax. It's at 9% of budget. So when you look at sales tax that was deposited in them in August, we're actually down about 14% from this time last year. That is because of all the construction that was happening, and specifically related to Love's a year ago. Now that that's done, of course, our numbers are reflecting that decrease. But when you look back to fiscal year '22, our numbers are right on par. So we budgeted for that when we looked through our sales tax and made sure that we weren't overstating anything as far as expectations. So we've taken that into account. We're right on track, even though it looks low when we compare to '23. I mentioned the interest income and the FEMA, which have boosted our general government revenues a little bit. Economic development, our hotel motel tax had a little spike in July. We had some back payments, which was nice. And also just some more activity that happened there. Pool revenue came in right on track. It left us with about $178,000 of net income related to those, basically those two extraordinary items in the month of July. So a great way to start off fiscal year. On the PMA side, operating revenues, just by itself, $336,000. It's a profit margin of about 21%. This is when we expect to make our money, right? Hottest months of the year, people are watering their lawn, they're using their air conditioner. These are when we should see the largest revenue portions coming in. Specifically on electric, it was the third month in a row that OMPA had a credit on their fuel adjustment. So as customers are seeing their bill, that decrease was about 13%. They'll see that come through in their PCA. So right now, customers should be having the highest bills, right? They're running the air conditioners, the weather is unbelievable, but there is a little bit of reprieve. So hopefully they will be happy about that. Other than that, transfer some money out over to the general fund, which is expected. Net income of a little under $100,000. And again, a good way to start the fiscal year, 1 month in.
Do we have any questions for Meredith?
Concerns?
So I've asked several times.
Yes. Uh-oh. No,
Yeah. Where are we at on getting asked for a 4-year plan on getting the water and the sewer departments to balance out?
To make a break even, yep. Russ actually worked on that last week. So water in and of itself, we kind of took a 5-year period, and if we tried to balance water over a 5-year period to get to a break-even position, it would be about 13.5%, almost 14% rate increase per year.
Per year.
In order to get that to break
Okay.
even.
And then sewer, it's showing a positive now. But
Yeah, it's budgeted for a positive based upon where capital outlay sits. So we're budgeted for a net profit there, a little over 12%.
Okay.
5 years, 13.5/14%. I think it's like
I wanted to see
13.72.
it. I wanted to see it done before I left. In 4 years.
Are you leaving?
In 4 years.
Oh.
I'm up for re-election.
Okay. Well,
I'm
if
just
we-
kidding. If we can get it in 5 years, I'm good with that, but,
Yeah, so there you go.
okay.
5-year plan.
It's about 14% a year to get our water to break even. I definitely think our utilities is something that those need to be balanced. As we
You are speaking to me. I love this.
as we increase our water, you know, if we can do things like offset our electric, is that speaking to you?
As long as we can afford capital improvements, I'm good with it.
That way, it's not just adding utilities to our citizens, but we need to, you know, if we're gonna bring up our water, if we can bring down our electric, just to kind of help offset that, then I think that's fair, but we need our utilities just to be balanced. I mean, just operating, you know, in my business mind, that's how I see things, they need to be balanced. We can't keep operating at a loss with our utilities.
And Mayor, just to answer what you were just talking about,
Mm-hmm.
a 1% increase in electric revenues gives us about $97,000.
Okay.
A 1% increase in our water utilities gives us about $12,000.
Okay.
So when you talk about increasing water, in order to make that a apples to apples, that's 4 times. Is that not right?
Mhm.
Yeah. Anyway, so there you go, for a little perspective.
It's doable though.
Which is okay, and
Yeah.
that's where I was
Right.
a couple of years ago. I mean, I want each department to balance out.
Yeah.
And not
I like it.
compensate one for the other.
Right.
I'm just glad we said something because a lot of people, when we do bring the budget up or if utilities are brought up, that they think that, they honestly, they don't know what to think because they don't know the background on it. And so telling them, being transparent like
Right.
we're trying to be,
Yep.
and letting them know that, hey, you know, water hasn't taken care of itself for a long time.
Right.
And so to raise water would not be just because we want to raise it, it's because we're still paying out of pocket for water plus whatever you all are paying.
Right.
Can I correct myself? I said 4 times, it's 8 times. I just did the math. So I'm transparent. Okay.
All right. Any other questions for Meredith regarding anything? No?
Yeah.
Okay. Seeing that, let's go ahead and move on to we're gonna skip over 8 for right now, and 9. We'll bring those back up later, 10. We're gonna go down to item number 14. Before we dig into the hospital, let's get through some of these invoices that we need to approve, and then get through some of the items that we have folks that are going to be presenting to us. So item 14, approval of invoice in the amount of $81,330.63 to HFF Architecture for professional architecture services from July 1st through July 31st, 2023. So this is a payment to the architect for the hospital remodel project.
Motion to approve the invoice to HFF Architecture.
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second. Any questions on that?
That is just a typo, right?
What's that?
It's actually HFG.
Yeah,
Oh,
okay.
HFG.
But
Good catch.
HFG.
All right. Roll call, please.
Coldiron.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Coffee.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Wortham.
Yes, thank you. Item 15, approve application for payment number 9 to Wynn Construction Company Incorporated in the amount of $101,478.55. So this is to our contractors for the water project going
Motion
on.
to approve payment 9 for Wind Construction. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
How many of these we're gonna have? I mean, this is number 9, right?
Yeah.
I don't remember how many there were.
getting close to the end,
Doesn't
very,
seem to be
very,
getting
very
close.
close to the end.
Okay.
In fact, if you look at 15,
Yeah, I was looking.
it'll give you the,
Schedule.
That's 81%.
yeah, let me look at that real quick. Here it is.
Yeah, we're at 81% after this.
Amount, let's see, amount of the retainage, 141,000 total retainage.
I'm not
Well, balance
disputing
to
that.
finish plus
Right,
retainage,
so how much will be left?
but there's $280,000 that that's going to be saved. And
Gotcha.
so it's
Yeah.
probably 280 minus that, that balance, the finished number.
When Matt was here last time, he spoke about a couple outstanding items, like the stoplight.
Right.
Looking at, and that, I think that's been done now,
Are
so
there more change orders on there?
we should be real close.
Vernon shaking his head no.
They were in the process of finishing the streetlights, and something has come up. And so the 7,000, I think, is what they had in there for it. Now they're having to add a little more to it, so that, they're trying to get back with Matt and try to readjust that. I don't know, there was something about some conduit or something that was supposed to be there that wasn't there, and something else got tore out that they're having to add some. I didn't get it all this morning from Brian's, but, so it's gonna be a little bit more to finish that, project.
Other than that, we're real close to done.
Yeah, I mean, they've got it pretty close. I think they've got to get it from, over on the corner back over to the control panel now, I believe is what it is. I'm not 100% sure.
Okay.
I will tell you here that, that they're not interested in the balance of the project, doing that. And that estimate is about $750,000 to finish the balance. That's the railroad part of the project.
Finish it off.
In addition, Mayor, I haven't told you, but I don't think I told you, but item 16, there's a recommendation to continue that. Will Sheets is still working on
Yes.
the, did you know that?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, sorry.
Yep. So back on item 15, we did have a motion and a second with Danette and Sammy. So let's have a roll call for that.
Goldar.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Coffee.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Worthing.
Yes. Okay, item 16, we're gonna move till the next meeting. Will Sheets has some things that he's going over on that change order, so that may adjust. I believe we'll need a motion to table that.
So moved.
Continue it,
Second.
let's say
Continue, sorry.
continue it to the
Continue.
next meeting.
Continues the next meeting.
All right,
Second.
motion and a second?
Goldar.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Coffee.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Worthing.
Yes.
Sorry, okay.
No, you're good. I got that all in favor. We need the other board meetings. All right, so item 17, consider approval of the 911 Management Authority Grant Agreement number F713-232-S105 in the amount of $89,690.
Bryce. You want to just have her present this at the next one?
Yeah, I mean, that's not on the agenda. What's on the agenda is approving the grant agreement.
Right.
And, yeah, is she here?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's right there.
Oh, yeah,
Yes. Would you like me to come up?
yeah.
We'll just need to approve the grant agreement. You can present all this stuff at the.
Perfect. My name is Amanda King, and I am with the new E91 coordinator for Noble County and the city of Perry. So back in March, I was asked to try to get a grant. We're currently 8 years behind on our GIS system for our 911 systems. So basically, when you call into 911 and our GPS hits, if you have built a house in the last 8 years, that GPS is not going to have your address. It's going to give you a location, but it's not going to give you an exact location. So I put in for a grant, and I had gotten into contact with a company called SAMS, and I gave you this packet right here. It tells you all about that corporation and what they will do to get us back on the road of where we need to be E911 up to NENA standards. Because quite honestly, if we do not get back up to standards, we could lose our 911 system, which would mean all of our calls would come from Payne County or a different county. We don't want that. We want to be coming from our county. And every time someone calls 911 right now, it's minutes. And if we can get this fixed quickly with this company,
then that's just gonna help us save minutes on getting firefighters out to where they need to be, getting ambulance, police officers, sheriff's deputies, where there's not any confusion. Because right now, I know like the firefighters are still going off of paper maps. But if you're not from here, you don't know, when people call like, oh, go out to Pete's Corner. I didn't know what Pete's Corner was when I moved here. So it's really important to get this up to date. The total cost is on, the breakdown of the cost is on page 10. And it will give you the total labor and how many hours it's going to take them. The total cost is coming out to $85,190. And that's what I'm asking to be approved tonight, to get our 911 back up to standards. This will go into, they'll fix all of our GPS systems, they'll fix our GIS, our mapping, and just everything that's computer, like anything. Navigation, coordinates will all be replaced and up to date. And I can't do this alone, because just me alone trying to put all these addresses in is going to take years. But with this company, they have the time to come in and do it, and they can get it done. I think they said, I want to say 6 months, maybe 6 months to a year, they could get it completely updated, and they could continue to keep it updated.
This includes keeping it updated?
Not this grant, that will be on a later discussion, but they do have that capability of coming back and keeping it.
4,000 a year after that or something.
Yes, they do have the capability of keeping it going for us. And I would work alongside with them, make sure they have all the new addresses and everything they need to make that work.
Grant money that we're receiving covers the entire cost of the.
This covers the entire cost of this project, what I'm asking for, yes.
Yeah, now the problem is that the SAMS is not on the agenda. The grant for SAMS is on the agenda, but I didn't have that proposal when we put together the agenda. I had the grant authority, so that we will have to come back to approve that. We should approve the money tonight, and then approve the SAMS at your next regular or special meeting.
Any questions for me?
Appreciate what you're doing.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I'm gonna make a motion to approve the 911 Management Authority grant agreement and the amount of $89,690.
Second.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Calderon.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Coffee.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Worthing.
Yes. Thank you, ma'am. All right, item 18, discussion and approval to advertise for and offer employment to 2 qualified water sewer maintenance crew to fill current budgeted open positions. So these are positions that we have vacant that we're already budgeted for. So we're not adding anything new. This is just filling the holes that we have currently.
Are they gonna need vehicles?
We'll see. Vernon, do you need vehicles? What do you need? Come on, this is the time you tell us.
You know the answer,
as well.
Will.
So right now, I really need the employees. I do have one guy, well, actually today was his last day for about 6 to 8 weeks. So he goes in tomorrow, I'm not sure what time, he's gonna have shoulder surgery. So that'll be 6 to 8 weeks. That's gonna leave me and 2 other guys. One of them's been here a little over a year. The other one, I think, has been here probably 12 years. So that's gonna put me down to just 2 guys.
Right. 2 guys take care of all the water systems in our city.
Yes. So.
That's scary. How many guys does it take on a water break?
As many as I can get.
As many as you can get,
Yeah.
including Derek and Scott.
Well, I mean,
We didn't do anything, it was a little buy drinks and food.
2 guys can get it. I mean, we got a back operator, and normally it's just 2 of us. The way they've been here lately, it's been pretty bad. Like they did one up Friday on 13th and Elm, I believe it was. I only had 2 guys here. I was out. The other guy was out with some stuff, and they ended up digging it up. It took them about 8 hours, and then they ended up cutting in about a 6-foot piece of pipe. So the more, the better, but,
Right.
I mean, so it just, I mean, all depends. Some of them are pretty simple. All the ones we've done here recent have been, we've put in 3 foot of pipe to up to 6 foot of pipe here in the last 2 weeks.
Right.
So, I mean, they've been pretty bad. So,
Yeah. It's definitely needed. So again, so this is to fill the positions that we have currently vacant that are budgeted for.
Motion approved.
All right. Roll call, please.
Goldar.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Coffee.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Wortham.
Yes. Okay. Item 19, discussion and approval to advertise for and offer employment to a qualified firefighter to fill current budgeted open position. We don't have Russell.
This is the one he had mentioned
Right.
at the last meeting, when he was talking about his paramedics, the one that had just left.
I'll make a motion we approve to advertise for the employment for
Second.
firefighter.
Okay.
Second. Sorry.
We got a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Goldar.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Coffee.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Wortham.
Yes. All right, item 20, discussion and approval to advertise for and offer employment to 2 seasonal part-time employees to help at the Perry BMAC Sports Complex at the fall tournaments that are coming up. And I think Lee is,
Yes.
yeah,
Can we change that to fall/spring?
into next year.
But as you know, we employ a lot of high school kids. So we had a big turnover this year of a lot of seniors that graduated and went to college. So we lost 2 for sure. One says she's going to try, but once they go to college, I don't count them in. So but the other 2 are officially off the books. They've already taken them off payroll, everything. We have 3 other ones. One says she might be able to make 1 or 2 tournaments just because of fall activities that she does. So really, I'm stuck at 2. And, we need more than 2 to run the concession, so.
So are these positions, will they'll be high school kids again?
Yes, and I already have 3 people that want to apply, but I told them, I said, you can't apply until it's posted. And they want to do fall, what they can do in fall, and they want to work for spring.
Right.
So, and they will be all, sophomores and juniors, so hopefully I can get 2 years out of them also.
Right.
So, but that's how we are, that's all we need is,
Right.
and, we're coming in 2.5 weeks for the first tournament,
All
so
right. How many fall tournaments do you got?
we got 6.
6.
Yeah.
Okay.
All the way to Halloween.
Right.
So,
Nice.
and they're
Okay.
filling up really good right now, so.
Gotcha, good deal.
Yeah.
Concessions, you guys are doing good there.
Do what?
You guys are doing good with concessions and everything. How is that?
Yes, yeah, we did do a price increase on concessions just because everything did go up. This fall, we're gonna do gate increase.
Okay.
We didn't wanna hit up everybody at once because we are still lower priced than most Oklahoma City places. So we wanna stay that way where we're still making, but we're not gouging people, and people love coming back to
Right.
BMAC and playing.
So those gate fees, they're paying those, they pay those online or at the gate?
No, they're all at the gate.
They're all at the
Yeah,
gate?
yeah.
Okay. Is that just cash? Do you guys take card?
It's all cash right now. Well, we're working on trying to get a new system, hopefully by next year, a new POS system. And we have strongly, we need to go to card. I mean, everybody
Yeah.
pays with the card.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you guys don't take card. Well, then I'll just wait and go get some. So we're losing a lot of sales
Right.
just because we don't take card.
Mm.
I mean, so we do need to find a system.
So you don't take cards at the concession or the gate?
No.
Either
Okay.
one. We've got, so the register that we got for the pool,
We will have a way to do it. Plus, we might be able to talk to Exchange Bank and set you up for a swipe out there.
yeah. Do you think we could do
I mean,
that for the
concession
fall?
would be a big deal. I mean,
Right.
because even if they didn't have cash, because it happens a lot, oh, we didn't bring cash for the gate. Well, then I could just send them up to concession, hey, charge them a gate entry, and they can just do it at concession. So concession's the biggest place that it does need to be. Just the new age is everybody wants card.
Right.
I mean, no one wants to carry cash all the time.
I'd say we do that.
I'll call the bank first thing tomorrow.
So,
If we can get that for these fall tournaments, that'd be great.
It usually doesn't take long to
Anything
get
we can
set
get
up.
to get revenues going.
Yeah,
Let's do it.
especially if we got 2 new employees, it'd be easier to start them off fresh on training them too.
Right.
Do you have Wi-Fi out there?
Do what?
Wi-Fi?
Yes, we have Pro Value out there. It's not the best, but it's good enough for us,
Right.
so.
Good deal. And if we can't get that, soon enough from Exchange Bank, just, I imagine we'd probably take the one from the pool and move it over because the pool's closed.
Well, they have a register out there, a really nice one, but.
We need to update it
Update.
also.
But what we just need to get is a credit card scanner. It's just something that'll read the card, and we should better get that at Exchange Bank easy.
Sweet.
Because we just are actually getting rid of one in here
Mm-hmm.
because we went to Express Bill Pay, and now they're on Express, so taking away from one there, so we should be able to just say, well, now we want it over there.
Right. Well, good deal. Cool. But we do need to have a motion to approve the
Motion to approve.
seasonal positions. Okay. A motion and a second for the seasonal positions for BMAC. So roll call, please.
Goldar.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Coffee.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Worthing.
Yes. All right, thank you. So moving on to item 21. Authorize Mayor Lawrence Wortham, City Clerk Christy Conrad, Russ Meacham, Meredith Meacham Wilson, CFOs, and Police Chief Brian Thomas as authorized signatories on checks, warrants, and other instruments at any and all financial transactions consistent with the appropriate purchasing manual, municipal code, and policy and procedure. Quick question on this. So if this is for checks.
No, not
and
so
it-
much checks.
Not so much checks. I was gonna say, no offense, Brian, but why is our police chief signing checks?
It's just gonna be one other person. A lot of times with these CDs every 3 months now, I'm waiting on Russ or Meredith to show up so I can get a signature. Russ said, let's get somebody else that's local. It was me, Larry, and Russ. So now we need to adjust that, so we have 3 local people that can also sign, so we can get those CDs taken care of a little bit quicker than what we have.
I think it would be more appropriate if we had the vice mayor
What, the vice mayor
instead of the police chief.
Okay.
That's fine. That's my opinion. So with that, so I'll go ahead and make a motion for this, that we authorize myself, the mayor, city clerk Christy Conrad, Russ Meacham, Meredith Meacham Wilson, CFOs, and Derek Coldiron as vice mayor, as authorized signatories on checks, warrants, and other instruments at any and all financial transactions.
Second.
Okay, we have a couple seconds on that. So when you're ready, let's have roll call.
Goldar.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Brown. Coffee.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Wortham.
Yes, thank you. All right, item 22, consider purchase of Kubota tractor from Great Plains of Edmond for use at the sewer treatment facility in the amount of $30,621.30. So I don't know if you noticed the background on this. We have received a notice of violation from ODEQ for the failure of facility to remove the solids in the drying bins. So apparently this tractor has been down for quite some time. How long has it been down?
Couple months, I mean, they were using it, but it could not do its full job. The four-wheel drive front end differential is what's messed up in it. So it was grinding and making all kinds of noise. And of course, in the time of it being down and trying to get in a process of either getting it fixed or getting a new one, we got the lucky DEQ to show up and say, hey, what's going on? And that's just kind of where we were with it, I mean.
And you utilize this for a lot of other things out there?
Yeah, we use it to sickle mow our lagoons, because we still have the lagoons out there, so we have to sickle mow the lagoons. We've got, there's about another 20-some acres that we have to brush hog up on the front side behind the dog pound, plus down in our bottom, and then over at our lift station, there's 11 acres over there with another lagoon and the pump station that we have to maintain over there. So they use it for more than just the drying beds. I mean, they use it for the brush hogging, the tilling, and then, well, then we also have to land apply our solids in there, so they also use it to disc it in or chill it in, whichever one they do. Once they get it over and do the land applying, they use that tractor for that too.
And it'll be, the tractor alone will be able to get them cleaned out? I mean,
Yes.
That's all we need to be able to do that?
Yeah.
How often do we have to clean out those drying bins?
Well, depends on how often they use them, but right now, with where we're at now, we used to have well, we've got a sludge box, and then we have our other 17 drying beds that we utilize. So, if we put it in the drying beds, I think it dries for 90 days, depending on the weather, the rain, stuff like that. Then they would have to clean that out, put it over in a holding place. The sludge box is a whole lot quicker when we use it, but we only have 2 or 3 drying beds or 3 beds for it to go into, so they'll use it in the sludge box, dump into that, move it from that box to the next one over, and as they dry it. So, I mean, it could run quite often. I mean,
Right.
just depending on the time and how much sludge and solids we get in.
Gotcha. So like on average, like is it being used or is it being cleaned out like weekly, quarterly?
I believe it would be, I would say, at least every 2 weeks. If
Every
not,
2
I mean, it depends on how many they've got full.
Right.
So,
Okay.
if they had it on a rotation of it, they could probably do a couple every 2 weeks or so, 3 weeks, if they had them in the right rotation.
Right.
What's the plan with the current tractor that you have?
We're gonna trade it in. We're gonna sell it. We're gonna scrap it.
Can it not be repaired?
I believe it can. I think it's around about $600 to repair it. I think. I have not gotten that far on it. We're still waiting on them to figure the parts and the labor and all that stuff. I haven't got a full quote on all that. So, if we get the new one and then they get that one, or we get that one, then we can utilize it in other areas also, because like for us in town, if we've got to get into easements, we've got a big tractor, we can get into teal stuff, on some of the easements that we have to go dig for our water lines and stuff, we can't get our bigger tractor in there to be able to teal and level out the spots that we dig in them because of the fences, like up in the addition up there by Coffee Drive. We've done a couple up there behind Lee Ben Trainer's house, and to get in there, the fences are so close, our tractor's so much bigger that we can just barely get in there to do it. And of course, we don't have a loader on ours, so the only thing we have for a loader would be our backhoe, which we can't even get it in there. We have to go in with the track hoe. Park the backhoe outside of the fence and then drag the pump and everything up into there so that we can even get in there to fix the leak in there. So when we go back to repair it, we have to, it's quite the job with what we have. But if we repair that one, then we'll have that smaller tractor with the tiller and the smaller bucket and stuff where we could go in and do some other dirt work and ground work with on the end.
So this new one, it's more equipped, more adequate, or good, I don't know what I'm trying to say, for the job that it's intended for.
Yeah, bucket wise, I mean, right now, the bucket size that's on there, on the tractor we have right now, is small. So, and the one we're getting is about twice the size of what's on there, I think almost 3 times as big. So it'll cut cleaning the dry beds time in half per bed.
When does the DEQ come back to re-inspect, or when do we have to have this
They-
fixed?
On those, there was that one, and then, our, flow meters. And we've already got the flow meters calibrated. Once we figure on the tractor, which we got with everything, I think it was like in 15 days, they were gonna come back and it could go to a more critical write-up on that, on those two deals.
Yeah.
So in the meantime,
Does another department have a tractor
yeah, I
that
was
they can
gonna
use?
say,
'Cause,
the
I mean,
streets having a piece of equipment that we can use to
Right.
get those cleaned
I
out?
don't know that they, no, all they have is their big loaders.
Or maybe the county, or
Yeah, that's what I was
is there
gonna
someone
say,
that we can reach out
county.
to?
Just to get
I
it
don't know what the
cleaned up.
county's got, I mean.
I mean, it wouldn't hurt to ask them, if we've got 15 days, we need to
Pushing
get
it.
that cleaned
Well,
out before.
with where we're at right now, knowing that we're in the process of getting quotes and going on that and getting the other one fixed, then we're almost, I mean, they're not gonna hammer on us, I mean, they know things take time. So,
I'd like to get cleaned up.
I was wondering what would it cost to rent a tractor
To rent one for
for,
right now.
I mean, just temporarily to get that cleaned out so that we didn't end up with some kind of
Right.
fine.
What is the size constraint? How wide are those beds?
I'm not sure exactly how wide they are, I think that bucket on that one's, I think they're about 10 foot.
8 or 10 foot is
Yeah,
what I
they're
said.
10 foot wide.
So what, I guess I'm not understanding, how come, why won't the loader fit in there if it's 10 foot wide?
It's not that it won't fit in there, but there's 2 foot of gravel, 2 foot of sand, and then, so it's,
Too
what's
heavy?
in them will, if it's too heavy, it'll sink.
Hmm.
So who's gonna do like the maintenance on the new tractor and make sure that things don't go
Right.
south? Just curious.
Yeah, that's a question that we had when we were going, around to the different facilities with all these equipment. One of our questions was, who's gonna maintain
Yeah.
facilities, who's gonna maintain equipment? And how does that work?
Well, I know on this tractor, they also offer I think it had like a 6-year warranty on it, but if they do the
Service.
hourly maintenance on it in-house, then they'll add an extra 3 or 4 years of warranty to the tractor.
How old is our current tractor that we have that's down? Was it pretty old, or
Probably
or is it fairly new, or
15
years?
Yeah.
When you were still out there,
It
right?
doesn't.
You were still out there.
Yeah, I was still out there, so it was early 2000
Oh, okay.
when we got in.
Meredith, I probably should have asked a few more questions, but you'd said something about possible grants and these types of situations. Is that something on this one we could do, or is it just future
No, I think
things?
with the dollar amount, so usually if you're in a DEQ consent order, it kind of puts you toward the top of the list as far as grants for kind of those bigger projects, but I don't know that for a $30,000 one that they would want to throw us any bones.
Were all these on a state bid? The quotes?
Yes.
They are state bids?
So where is the money gonna come from for this?
So I talked to Russ, I had an idea, and then I talked to Russ, and he reformed my idea.
Okay.
So we've got $1 million in the budget for water projects right now, and so it would come out of that. That's what his
That we set aside for the roof?
I'm sorry?
For the roof, that we set aside that $1 million for that?
The $1 million that's in, yes, for the
Right.
water treatment plant.
Right.
Not just the roof, but the water,
Right.
yes,
So that would fall under that?
yes.
Yeah, Matthew today confirmed a $250 estimate on the roof, $750 estimate on the railroad crossing, of which we have $280,000 left in that project account. So there's, under those estimates, there's ample money to use that and still be able to tackle those 2 jobs if that's what you'd like.
And to fix the one that's broken.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, if that fixes only $600,
Yeah.
Yes.
fix it.
It would take to do it.
motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Goldar.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Brown. Yes. Coffee.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Worthing.
Yes. All right. Thank you, everybody. So, we got that. Let's see where we're gonna go to here. All right, let's head back up to.
Thank you.
Let's head back up to item number 8. Consider appointment of acting city manager and discussion of administrative duties in the interim. So with this, we've had Christie appointed as our acting city manager, and we need to start thinking about what we want to do as far as like interim city manager. Personally, this isn't something I think we need to rush into, but something that we can take into consideration. We're going to be having Kathy O'Connor start with us starting September 1st. And in that first city council meeting in September, we're going to talk about dates that we can meet with her and continue our strategic planning that we've talked about. And I think using her, helping us in that strategic planning, come up and find someone that would best fit the direction that we want to go, I think would be appropriate. In the interim though, as of right now, Derek and I have been popping into City Hall and helping out when needed and where needed. So far, I think that's gone all right. Has it been all right for you, Derek?
Yeah.
How about for you, Christie? Has it helped you out at all?
I don't know if I'm helpful, but.
Oh, knowing you're there is helpful, I promise.
But are there any thoughts as far as what do you guys think we should do here in the interim?
Someone that might be excellent for it would be Dixie, who had lots of years' experience in Christie's job and trained Christie and has a lot of knowledge in it. Even with that, I think she would be a good consultant because she knows lots of people in that field and area. I don't know, what her plans would be, it should just have to be talked to and plans discussed with her, but I do think she'd be excellent, and she was considered city manager, I believe, on her husband, wasn't she?
Yes.
Yeah, she had been considered for city manager before.
Does the OML provide or have interim city managers that?
We can reach out to them and talk. I've reached out to OMMS, which we are a part of. They have a lot of resources for municipalities. I didn't know that we were a member of that, but they said, yep, we can come in and help you out with, they have a lot of different things. Steve, I don't remember his last name, but he's the executive director for OMMS. He said that he'd be more than happy to come down to Perry from Tulsa to meet with whoever wants to meet with him to kind of go over, talking about the different resources that they offer and services that they have that are available to us because we're already members of that organization, as well as OML. We can reach out to them also. I think it's good.
I think, how comfortable is Christie so far? I mean.
How you doing? You staying afloat?
I'm staying afloat.
Okay, I mean.
I
do you
got a
still
lot of
get-
people to lean on, so it's okay.
Do you still get help from Dixie when, like,
Oh.
every once in a while, so?
And I actually talked to Dixie here not so long ago, and she says, well, if you need me, holler, I'll help you out. So, yeah. Dixie's always my little, okay, what do you think about? So, yeah. And, I'll lean on Bryce and the CFOs quite a bit too. And I've got some amazing department heads out there, guys, and they are willing to back you at any time. And that staff at City Hall, I would be scared to death of saying acting city manager if I didn't have a staff like I have. They are 100% behind me, and actually a couple of them, Tyson being one of them, and stayed and helped put the packets together so I could get them out. Because it was kind of a crazy day that Friday. So, if I didn't have a
In the
staff.
future, they will be out much quicker
Yes.
than you have. I know you've heard that before, but if we stay on target, they'll be out much quicker. I mean, that draft on Wednesday is absolutely doable.
And if earlier, I think that's great. That's something that I think, you know, in the interim here, Derek and I should take more of a lead on with the agenda. For example, like with this agenda, there's a lot of things on there that I didn't know that were going on there. And we just need to make sure that according to our charter, it's the mayor, the city manager, or 3 city council people that can put something on the agenda. Outside of that, it has to go through. That's the process of putting together our agenda. So I think if Derek and I work on that together along with Christie, and then we will forward that on to Bryce to review, I think that would be a good process for our agenda, or at least putting it together. And then we work on getting it out early enough so that all of us have time to talk about it, think about it, research the different things on the agenda. Because when we get these agendas last minute, it doesn't do us any favors. And especially when we're having things put on the agenda that's very last minute, we're getting it in the 11th hour, that's just not appropriate. Because then it really handcuffs us to making decisions that we're not comfortable making. Me personally.
Completely understand that.
So to your earlier point, is this something we should probably, no action needed tonight, but leave it on the agenda for after we, future agendas for after we meet with Kathy?
Yeah, I think so. You know, kind of talking about, you know, the administrative duties in the interim as well. One of the issues that I think I've noticed in the past is that we have a lot of meetings that kind of happen, you know, behind closed doors, so to speak. But there's a lot of meetings that there's only one person that attends, whether if it was our city manager that was attending that meeting by himself, or, you know, Bryce, if there's meetings that you're attending by yourself, if Russ is attending, or even myself, that we're attending by ourselves. I don't think that's entirely appropriate as well. We need to have, you know, council's involvement so that we're not finding out of things after the fact, or, you know, as we talk about this hospital deal, there's so many things as Derek and I have gotten in there that we had no idea about. And it was, you know, come to find out, it's like, well, that's a meeting that the city manager had with Stillwater Medical that nobody was privy to. Even as we met with Russ, you know, we asked Russ to be like, did you know about this? And Russ didn't know about it. And so there was that miscommunication between, you know, city manager and CFO, or city manager, city attorney, council, you know, there's just too much disconnection there. And when we want to focus on transparency moving forward, that we really need to make sure that we're attending meetings together and not individually.
There is a duty under the charter, since there is in fact a vacancy in the office of the city manager, to appoint a qualified acting city manager. So I would say that, you know, that you should take some action, whether it's to appoint Christie until you have your September meeting or whatever, just to continue the way we are until you make a change, because that's what the charter says.
Well, I make a motion that we appoint Christie to continue acting as city manager until we come to a point in time when we're ready to appoint a permanent acting city manager.
Second.
We have a couple seconds on that. That's scary. Any other thoughts or comments?
I think we're headed in the right direction. I really do. And I think what's happened actually is just going to give us a better run at a clean slate.
Well, thank you for your confidence.
I think so as well. So with the motion and the second, let's have roll call.
Goldar.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Coffee.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Wortham.
Yes. Okay. Item number 9, discussion of /or nomination and appointment of councilperson for Ward 3, Post 2, and if nominated and appointed, administer the oath of office. Has anyone had any thoughts about an individual to fill Kevin's seat?
I've been talking to somebody, but I have not gotten a definite answer from them, so I'm not gonna.
Are you nominating him?
Someone, but I got a definite answer.
We've got,
Someone said no.
So something just to remember to keep considering, we need to find somebody to fill Kevin's seat.
60 days.
Right, we have 60 days to do so.
From last.
From 14 days ago.
Yeah,
From 14 days ago?
So
from last meeting.
So 45.
Okay.
46 more days.
Yep. So we
I
got
think
about,
it should have Mr. Endicott's now, but he did say no.
we've got about a month and a half to get that seat filled, so keep that in mind. Think of people that live in Ward 3, which is kind of the northwest corner of Perry.
If we don't in 60 days, that goes to a general election.
Yes, we have to call a special election.
Special election, sorry, yeah,
Gotcha.
special election.
Which
All right.
costs money.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So seeing that we have no nominations for that, we will continue until the next meeting.
Could we make a statement that anyone in that ward that might be interested?
Oh, absolutely.
To come forward
Mhm.
and let someone on the council know, or the
Yep.
mayor?
Absolutely. Anyone that lives in Ward 3, more than welcome to reach out to any one of the council members, myself, Christie over at City Hall, and just let us know if you're interested so that we can get that seat filled. So we will continue on to item number. Let's go with item number 12. We have a couple gentlemen here that have been waiting patiently to present to us. So we will have a presentation by finance and bond professional concerning potential capital improvement borrowing. So we have Chris Wolf, financial analyst, and Nate Ellis, finance lawyer. It is you guys.
Well, good evening. My name's Chris Wolf. I'm here with Municipal Finance Services. We serve as your financial advisor. Nate Ellis, he's here with Public Finance Law Group. He was your bond counsel. What I've got here today is a pretty quick, short, sweet presentation. This is regarding a utility system and sales tax revenue note in order to cover the funding gap due to construction and material overages on the hospital. That funding gap was about $4.3 million. And so what we would do is what we would propose is issuing a taxable utility system and sales tax revenue note through a private placement. We would send out a bid packet information document to banks, and we would, a couple weeks later, we'd have them place their bid, and we would choose the bank that has the lowest, interest cost to the city or to the authority. Right now, what we're looking at here, this is the full par amount of the note. It would be about $4,425,000. That would get you in your project fund for the overages, or for the funding gap, $4.3 million in order to cover that. The way that this is set up, this would be, again, taxable 10-year bank note directly with the bank. We've structured this as a kind of a level amortization, basically meaning we try to get your payments to be equal every 6 months, and you have your annual debt service right here. Right now, given the current market environment, we're estimating about a 7% interest rate. We're kind of far away from the historic lows that we had seen during the COVID time. But given that it is taxable, you're going to pay a little bit of a higher rate. We think we could probably come in south of 7%, but to be conservative, we wanted to show what payments would look like over a 10-year period on 7%. And that payment number is about $623,000 on average for the next 10 years. This would be secured with electric sanitation revenues, and you'd have an extra collateral, the 1% sales tax for debt coverage purposes. Basically, what we kind of targeted was trying to get to a coverage amount that would be sufficient for the banks. And if you kind of flip to page 4, what we looked at was what are your net electric sanitation revenues, since that's what we're going to use to actually pay the loan. So we've got our total debt service at around $620,000. Revenue that we would have coming in is around $3.1 million. That's based on your 2022 audited financials. This is about where you've been the last couple of years. We use that. We did not project any additional, this doesn't use a projected rate increase, these numbers. This is what it would look like if it were flat for the next 10 years. Now, that being said, this last page here, this large debt schedule, we won't go through every number here, but this is just to illustrate kind of how all of your debt stacks up right now. You all have a plethora of other notes. What we would do is we would issue this note on a parity basis with your existing 2016 and 17 notes. And what we try to kind of put over here to the side, I know it's tiny, is those are your net electric and sanitation revenues. And that is your debt coverage number off to the side. Now, in order to fund this from brand new utility revenues, that would be approximately over all your utility revenues, about a 6% increase, 5 to 6% increase. That being said, this is where you stand on current revenues alone. Like I said, we did not project any of that. Again, it's pretty straightforward banknote, and we'd be happy to entertain any questions or discussion on that. And maybe if you have any comments. So this would allow us to put this packet together to distribute to the banks.
So it'd be 2 payments a year, September and March?
Yeah, you would, it's set up as a.
Equal out to 623?
Yeah, this is just kind of the standard repayment schedule as you have on your other notes. You have a semi-annual payment that's due, or would be due. We would anticipate closing this mid to late September. And so, yeah, your payments would be due every 6 months after that.
And these numbers do not include any increases, I would.
Just for the purpose of showing how this can be afforded under today's situation. Now, this does not include an assumption of an increase.
A future rate
A future rate increase or a future
CPI,
usage increase, anything like that. This assumes 22, which again has been fairly standard. 22 wasn't a huge year for you all that were kind of, was an anomaly, so we felt comfortable using that. And that 3.4 million in net after expenses and doesn't include depreciation, it's about 3.4 million. That's where you.
That's really a credit, kind of a credit quality indicator to banks. So they're looking at, do you have the credit quality to be able to repay this note? And so that's, the answer to that question is very clearly yes, it's very strong credit quality. The separate question for you then is the cash flow of, where you can actually get the money to make the payments, as opposed to maybe pulling it out of other budget items.
And Chris, I heard you say 6%, but I think when we calculated it, we were around more of a 5%.
Oh, yeah, I think I said 5 to 6. We were just jotting it down, so yeah.
Well,
Okay. That's a big 5 to 6
Yes,
there, so
yes.
yeah, around 5%.
Yes.
Nate, will you explain to everyone, we are not really familiar with taxable rates. We've always had tax exempt rates. And so why are we talking about a taxable rate here? If you could explain the private purpose doctrine and then perhaps what the difference, would be between a taxable and the non-taxable rate.
Yeah, so when you issue tax exempt rates, I mean, there's thousands upon thousands of pages of federal regulations from the IRS as far as how the proceeds can be used and structured, and we have some unique structures in this particular transaction because the other parts of the financing that you're doing, that you're using, the nature of who you're financing or who's operating the hospital and how they want to be able to operate the hospital so that they can do it in the most effective manner. And to kind of boil it down, you get into issues where you have what the federal government deems private use. You can't use tax exempt funding to fund something that other entities are going to get kind of a priority right or preferential right in the way they operate to try and operate it like a business. And so as a result, I mean, it kind of kicks us over into the taxable. So what that means is whoever the note holder is, the bank in this case, they will have to pay interest on the interest. They'll have to pay taxes on the interest income that they make off the loan, as opposed to a tax exempt loan where they would not have to pay tax on that interest income. And so as a result, there's a spread that, if the corporate tax rate is 21% right now, so it's not exactly this, but close enough. If we could get maybe a 5.5% or so.
Yeah, it's about 125.
As a tax exempt, we'd get around a 7% as a taxable rate. Those would basically represent the same thing to the bank as far as what their rate of return is after they factor in the taxes. So.
I think the next thing to consider is, why are we here? Why are we talking about, potential utility rate and having to go out and get more money? Just to remind you, we've been waiting for this number from Nabholz. The architect plans were done to the 30% level, provided to them, and they had a couple weeks to come up with what their price would be, and that's a locked-in price. I mean, they will do it for that price. It would be much better if we had more time. If we had more time, then the architect's plans wouldn't be at 30%. They'd be at 50%. The best would be at 100%. So that when that GC got it and put it out for bid, he would get real numbers and he would know exactly what people will do the project for. Because he doesn't have that, he has to put a cushion in there to protect himself. Okay? Which is the natural. Well, why aren't we waiting? Till the architect has 100% plans. Well, that answer is because this financing between Bank First and Metafund, these two notes involve this new market tax credit. That is, there's two loans that are involved here from Bank First, but the profit or what makes this attract to Bank First is these new market tax credits. So they're getting us a pretty nice transaction on the other side, but they're looking for these new market tax credits. What is that going to net us? $2.4 million, of which a lot of that, heck, $500,000 goes to pay Metafund. A bunch of money goes to pay lawyers and the like. We net at about $1.4 million. Now, that's a $1.4 million grant to the bottom line, which is a real number. But if we could wait, then we'd know better. But remember, these are all estimates. And we're not going to spend money on estimates. We're going to spend money on real numbers. So that's all going to come. It's all going to come. It's just not right now. So what does that mean? Well, there's folks working on bringing these numbers down. If you look at the document that I gave you, there's some footnotes on the back, in fact, on the front, you know, it talks about where we hoped we'd be, the current proposal at $12,648,635, but where did we get $16,967,909, and that's all in. Well, that's $4.319 million more. Okay. Now, what are the reasons for that? Quite frankly, the newspaper asked us for those reasons today, and I responded to them. And you know, I'm not going to go into real detail, but let me tell you, you know, I mean, since COVID, since the last 2 years of the current administration, the decisions that have been made, the flooding of the market with ARPA dollars and extra dollars, what has occurred? Well, we've had supply chain disruptions. We've had labor costs. Skilled labor shortage can drive up construction costs. If there's a lack of qualified workers, then wages have to increase. You probably know that from Charles Machine Works. Regulations and permitting. Inflation. Well, there's a big number. Energy price increase. Global economic factors. Environmental factors. Technology and innovation. Project complexity and market demand. Some of that is real. As these dollars flood, there's a lot of projects out there, right? I mean, you guys know this. And you guys, if you wanted to, you could speak about the difference between engineers' estimates and actual numbers that come in. And let me just talk to you about this. What kind of difference are we seeing? Is 20% between engineer estimate and what the numbers come in? Is that low or high?
Depending on the engineer and how much cushion they're putting into their projections, I mean, a lot of that cushion is getting rapidly eaten up as they go forward in time, just because of, as you said, all those inflationary costs and factors. I mean, we're seeing a lot of projects that are coming in, you know, significantly higher than what they were estimated at, and probably accurately estimated at 3 or 4 years ago.
And so, you know, what we do is we do have a number. I mean, understand, we do have a number, and that is the number, but that number is going to be refined as the plans get refined, as real additional competitive bids come in. And in addition, if you turn to page 2, there are things that we don't have to do, and there's things that can be cut. Right now, they're talking about maybe a $350,000 to $450,000 cut in equipment and furniture, and the budget to be cut between $500,000 and $1,050,000. If that occurs, you know, that can be about a $1.5 million cut. So you take this number of $4.3 million and you take that off it. But you know, when you enter into this agreement, and what is Meta-Fund and Bank First looking for? Well, you know, they're out on the line here, you know, on this project, and they want to make sure that you can get the home plate with it, you know. So what they're wanting to see is that we would be able to close it and do it. So really, and look, you know, I mean, I apologize, but please understand that number came on August 10th. That was not last Thursday, but the Thursday before. It took, you know, 24, 48 hours to kind of put the formula together on that. Within 48 hours of that, our city manager resigned. I was out doing other cities on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and had the opportunity to come back here on Friday and kind of put this together. And so you are this time getting it late, but that was, you know, I'd been taken out of agenda process. And so what I could have done on Monday, it had to wait to the next day that I had available. That is why you didn't get this till Friday. And I don't see that happening again, hopefully. So, I mean, that's really this document of how you get to those numbers. Now, so what is MetaFund and Bank First looking for? Well, they're looking for this city and the PMA showing that, you know, that the community and that the authority is willing to close this. That we're done. There's going to be lots of other moving parts here, a lot of other reductions that can be made, but that they can close it. You know, Nate, you know, you guys work, I know I kid you guys a lot about the Blackwell deal, and you had that deal for 11 or 12 months, and I know you brought us some Indian money that possibly could have been assigned over to Blackwell, but other than that, and it didn't turn out. Other than that, what we did is we had a Bank First proposal with new market tax credits. You know, it may be possible to go out into the market and to borrow it all and not use the new market tax credits. We would have to have a PMA. You wouldn't get the money to pay the lawyers. You wouldn't get the grant money. You would get a higher rate. You would have the PMA, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, promise to pay back all the money that's borrowed, when now it's just to pay back whatever we're doing tonight, which could adversely affect our ability to go back out in the market and to borrow additional money for needed water projects, sewer projects, and the like. So we're trying to stay away from that, trying not to put too much commitment on PMA, but you know, that's where we are. I mean, that's where we find ourselves. So they are looking to see, you know, what we do here tonight. From MetaFund's perspective, they wanted to close by the end of August. We told them our numbers didn't work out. Understand that they have this credit that they need to put with somebody worthy to do a public project, and they take down a fee of $480,000, which they have to buy this credit, and that's what funds their agency. Okay, that funds their agency. So, you know, they love you. They want to see your hospital. They have picked this community. But if it's not you, they're going to go get the next one, because they've got to get this done this year. They've got to get this funded this year. So that's everything I know.
I think that this amount should have been in with that vote that the people had, is what I think.
It sure would have been good if you know, this was based on the estimate that, you know, that
the estimate that wasn't right.
Well, and we've gone over the reasons for the increase, but
it seems like every time there's more reasons.
Well, let me talk. I'm the oldest one here. I've been through many years of city council meetings from the other side with the newspaper. I'm probably the least financial person on the board and can relate to the homeowner people out there and the older people that are on Social Security. And when I read this, it shocked me that we were looking at an additional $4 million. And I thought to myself, I don't know how we can do it. I know we're looking at a $1.5 million tax credit. I can't even say I understand all of that. I can also see that we have to raise utilities across the board 5%. So where is that money going to come when we need something else? We just toured all these facilities. We saw needs that we didn't know that needed to be met. We're gonna tie up that 5% utility increase for 10 years. And we're not gonna have money to take care of the sewer plant or the water plants and those things that we need. And it looks to me like we're trying to put all our eggs in one basket, the Perry Memorial Hospital. I have, since my children were born in the low to mid-60s, the last one born in 65, I have watched that hospital be redone 3 times from foot to, and I almost think it'd be cheaper to do something different. I mean, it kills me to have to look at a 5% increase when I have Social Security people asking me, what am I gonna do? Am I gonna have to choose between medicine and food? Or I have people telling me, one man said, why don't y'all manage what you've got? And another one says, I think you need to start over and look at things a little differently than what you're doing, and I mean, it scares me. And I do not want to be a council that puts our city so in debt that we can't get out of it, and that we don't have money to cover the needs like our water department and the other departments that are here. And I know we need the hospital, but I thought we were going out for a small rural hospital. And it looks to me like we're going into something much bigger than what we anticipated. And so, I'm not dumb, but out of my ignorance, I'm speaking my heart for what I see for the city of Perry. I do not want to see them be so indebted that we're swimming and hurting and that people can't see us. I expect God to let us be a city that's set on a hill that other people can look at and say, I want to be like that city. And I'm not sure that the route we're looking at is a way for us to get there. Sorry. But it's my heart.
I also think that the money that's involved here, like, it's not just us involved in this, but yet we've had since Friday to look at it. So we're gonna make a decision for 5,000 to 6,000 people based on what we had for 3.5 days without talking to any corporations or anybody else in economic development or anybody else that matters. Not to mention, that's not even including what the people are going to pay when they're already at one of the highest rates.
Well, your priority is either the hospital or it's not. And if it's not, it's not.
Our priority is to let them
Understand.
know that are watching that we actually do care what they say,
Sure.
and that we actually do react to what they want us to do. And too many times, this is one of those instances where we had 3.5 days to decide what the whole city wants. When we haven't even been able to talk to the city or anybody else that fuels or feeds this city about the issue. This is a huge problem. And this is what we've been working at with our meetings. And this is what we've been talking about when it's been about transparency and actually doing what the people want. And the people right now don't think that we've done our jobs. And why is that? Because we weren't able to do our jobs. And 3.5 days isn't enough for us to do our jobs when it has to do with every single person here, including every corporation, every business, everybody. 3.5 days for $4.3 million is not enough to decide this.
Well, I know we've been working with a number, but just to come up with $4 million more than that number is what floored me,
Well, I mean, let's just do the math. You're correct. You're correct. And I'm not going to say you're not. It would have been nice to have kicked this agenda out on Monday, okay? I wasn't able to. But that was because of the ways things were. okay? For years, I would have, and you would have had 7 days, but that's the fact. But what are the facts? One, Stillwater can terminate our hospital agreement right now. They're not receiving REH payments. They were supposed to by June 30th of this year, or they could terminate our agreement. They terminate the agreement, which they can do. If they do, that's the end of our hospital. Now, they've been working with us since 2018. They have lost.
Real quick, Bill, that's
Yes.
not anything we've done. That's
No,
just due to the new
nothing.
REH.
No, nothing,
Doesn't-
but it's the current, it's the current agreement. I mean, it's everybody protects themselves, but, and they're not, they're working with us. I mean, they're still working with us.
Will they work with us to go back to the drawing board and look at things, something a little different or less than what we've come up with now?
I don't know that answer. What I do know is that when will the REH payments start coming, okay? And when they start
Before we
coming, it'll be
continue.
better for Stillwater.
Before we continue.
Yes.
So we've gone through this agenda item, and just to, so you guys don't have to stand there while we're discussing this, you guys are welcome to sit down. So we're kind of talking, the things that we're talking about, we are now into items 10 and 11. And so, just for the sake of you guys are, do we have any other questions for these guys? Okay, so let's continue this discussion, but we're gonna move along with items 10 and 11, which is what we're discussing
Just so I'm clear, and maybe clear this up for everybody else, this is above and beyond what we're fixing to talk about, correct? Okay. Right, I mean, so ultimately, for everything, all of our current situation financially, these $300,000 payments every 6 months, numbers say we can do that with our current budget without increasing anything, correct?
Can you tell me what you're referencing? I'm
You're talking about-
I'm looking at the
This
You're talking about
bond
bond.
service.
Let-
no,
bond
the-
service.
Let me answer your question, because this is from Russ, okay? The 5% is needed if we don't want to have to cut $620,000 a year out of our transfer to the general fund.
That covers that 2 payments a year.
Yeah. So the 5%. Also understand that the 5%, I mean, it doesn't go into effect. And I think you all know that. It doesn't go into effect unless there's a closing. And, you know, we get all this, you know, you get the new market tax credit, you get the bank first, the numbers come out right, everything closes. I mean, if that doesn't happen, then this rate increase doesn't happen. You know, I think one of the beauties of the rate increase, if there is a beauty of the rate increase, is that you didn't do a rate increase and put that money in the budget. I mean, you didn't do one, you know? And so now, you know, you have your number one priority, which you always told me and that we've always believed is the hospital. And you can do another percent and in fact, you know, keep the hospital. Now, in answer to Gloria's question, is there a way? There's not a way to keep the new market tax credit surviving. If we did it and we did something different, like built a new facility or, I mean, understand this facility has to be remodeled in a way, in a manner in which it can meet licensure under an REH. And Scott and Joe, you've been part of those meetings that they've had about why they need what they need. You know, they're talking about, now they had a meeting today. I haven't been a part of those, but they're talking about deductions, reductions that they can make to that budget. But, you know, understand that Stillwater, which carries the bottom line, which may change once we have this REH. I mean, they may be making some money finally instead of, you know, losing $6 million like they have since April 2018. But, you know, they'll start making money. By the way, they haven't made the first dollar on that yet. And it was approved April 1st, but we're hopeful that money starts coming. But Stillwater, which can, under the hospital agreement, the current hospital agreement that we have, the agreement, could terminate, has continued, to work with us on this. But, and will they? I would say if that REH funding came in, that it would probably be positive that they could. Now, could we go out and come up with another concept that meets the REH criteria, either a new facility? I mean, I don't think it would be a different design. I think that, these folks, they're working hard on this and they're professionals on this. And so the remodeled facility, we've got these numbers. Today we got an email from Mari because I asked her the question about whether if we build a new facility, and her answer was, that in her opinion it would involve more costs because you would have, and we don't know this until you do it, but you're talking about another year's study, and putting the plans together, and then you're talking about where. If it's outside of the census tract, this isn't a census tract where you can use new market tax credits, okay? And could we get another new market tax credit? Maybe from another state. We could maybe find one that might be willing to come in from another state and offer us a new market tax credit. It could happen. So that's possible. But, you've got parking lot, you've got utilities, you've got, just a whole lot of other expenses. But yes, it is possible. It's just in her opinion that a new facility, she's giving you the numbers on the remodeled facility. A new facility, in her opinion, would be substantially more. That was her opinion.
When did we receive this modeled budget number? When was that given to us?
August 10th.
The $12,000? The $12,000 one?
The 12 million?
I mean, 12
Yeah.
million, yes, that's what I meant. Sorry.
What's been the
When
timeline
was
on
that
these
$12 million
budget
one
numbers?
given to us?
Well,
The first one?
the
Yeah,
GMP, maybe 2 months before?
I think I've seen the date of May 4th from Nabholz. I
Okay.
think that was the date.
Okay, when did we pass the 1% sales tax or renew it? When did we do that?
We did that as a part of our campaign. Was that
last year?
Was that November?
That we renewed it?
2022?
I think Sammy and I have been here since we did that.
Yeah.
Right? No?
No.
Oh,
When we had the
No, it was
vote-
last
when we
year.
had the
Yes.
vote, it was in
It was
November
last.
22.
It was last November.
Should have been November.
It was
Okay, in
November.
in November, did we have like a ballpark figure of what it was gonna be?
Yeah,
That's
this-
my concern is we started out at 8 million was the number, and then we're like, well, we need to be a little bit, we need to be thinking closer to 10 million. And then it's like, well, we may be a little north of 10 million. And now we come in at,
Well, it-
let's say
it-
17 million, and we're asking the citizens, we're gonna put that on their back and do a rate increase.
What-
And we just that seems like that's our go-to every time is a utility rate increase. And I'm concerned
we don't
about it.
have- Well, no, we did a sales tax increase too.
Well, yeah, well, we continued it, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, no, but still, that's our two choices, our only options.
Right.
So our model budget on this page was given to us in May, and this current proposal was given to us 3 months later, and it's a 32% increase. How can you be that wrong? We haven't, CPI over the last 3 months isn't 32%. I was thinking that might have been a number from a long time ago, but it's not. I don't get it. Are they just trying to put a buffer in there? Is that what they're trying to do?
Yes, there's $1.6 million contingency in that number. Yep, that's part of it. 1.6 million contingency.
What was the buffer when we thought we were at about 8?
Well, Curtis, I'm not the numbers guy, and I can't tell you that I remember. I can tell you this, that, when we went out for the sales tax increase, together with what we had anticipated from the Malzahn grant, the amount that we went out for, of course, we weren't going out for more than a penny. I mean, we already had a penny. We were just renewing the penny. So the only question was the term. And, there were, the issue there was how long should we have the term for? And of course, the thought was, let's not have the term for any longer than what it's going to take to with respect to the estimate. I mean, I would have done a term to have no term or put 20 years in, but we had no idea what the public would do with the question. So at the time we put the question out, the question was structured in a manner in which where it would meet what our estimate was.
I can't pinpoint to who, so I'm not even going to jump there, but I'm just going to say that when the people voted on this, they were completely ill-informed.
And you're saying that's based on what's happening today. I mean, they were informed that we were going to remodel the hospital and that we were going to be able to use the 1% instead of as a subsidy to Stillwater. We were going to be able to use that as a payment on a note. So what would you say that they were?
They were still looking at 8 to 10. They weren't looking at 16.9.
Yeah, well, I'm not the estimator. I'm not going to.
I feel like every time that we've tried to do good and throw more at this than we ever were, I mean, we have done our part. We have, every time something has come in, even though we knew it was way above what we started at, we've thrown it at it because the one thing we wanted to make sure of is that we save our hospital. I also, I'm pretty good at saying stuff that people hate. I'm also pretty good at saying stuff that people like. Just depends on which 50% you're in. But there are a lot of people that really wanted to save that hospital. There's also a lot of people right now that are looking at the shape that our city is in, and they're saying, how can we afford to pay that much out for our hospital, especially when this is double what we looked at first. $5% on our utilities sounds very, very minimum when you just say, oh, it's 5%. But to a lot of these people that are already paying more than a lot of these other places and are barely making it right now and are kind of wondering if they even want to be here. To those people, that 5%'s a lot. And maybe the hospital's more than we have to lose.
Kind of going back on Gloria's point, what concerns me with this is that, we haven't started talking about the dam project that's coming up. And, we take on the hospital, we're putting quite a bit into it. And then we've got a really big project that's coming up that's already begun in the dam project that we've got to talk about. We've got the water treatment plant. We went on our facilities tour. We saw a lot of issues with our facilities, and not issues with our department as people, but the issues that they have within their department that are keeping them from doing their job to the fullest that they can do. This is a big decision for us, with this hospital. With that, I think we've talked quite a bit about here in item 10, talking about the the status of the hospital remodeling project. Going into item 11. Does anyone else have any other questions or concerns with the rate increase?
I had a person text me. This one, I'm just gonna read directly from what they said. So if the rates are raised to cover the loan payment, what happens when the city budget is not being met and cuts have been made? With utilities as one of the main sources of income, they would have to be raised again. This is a concern. I'd rather have city needs met before the hospital. Obviously, I don't know all the ins and outs, but the concern is there. So,
Right.
kind of reiterating what Curtis has said, that, you know, that if I had a citizen approach me with concern over the rates, you know, okay, yeah, we raise it 5, but that's for the hospital. What if, like, all these other things come up? You're just gonna have to raise rates again.
Right. And earlier we talked about, you know, if we're gonna have to raise our water and sewer just to get those to break even, those are more raises. If we have more water breaks, how are we gonna cover those costs? You know, we're gonna raise rates again. If issues come up with the dam project, we have to raise rates again. It's, you know, with all of our facilities that we're struggling with, how are we gonna fund it? We're gonna have to raise rates. And so, yeah, we really have to kind of weigh, you know, do we want to move forward with the hospital?
To the point of the Bear Lake Dam project, there's what, 750,000 in a road that we have to come up with, is that right, or $1 million?
No. The state has agreed to pay for half of that.
Okay.
So I would say, well, of course, I'm not going to estimate road costs. You were right on $750,000, but the state has agreed to pay half of that, so.
Okay.
Of course, those are old numbers.
Those are old numbers, and I'm not going to, you know.
Right. I think there's a lot more evaluation that needs to take place with where we're at. And
So what's our ultimate drop dead on this decision?
The 31st?
It was June, into June, wasn't it?
Originally, I thought it was, but, so now the end date is August 31st?
No,
For September?
Yeah, September, the end of September, but in order to get together, first of all, Bank First is waiting to see what we do tonight. MetaFund is waiting to see what we do tonight. Stillwater may be, they haven't said, but they may be waiting to see what we do tonight. You guys have told me that if we pass this today, you could theoretically get us this money by the middle of the month. And that is if we passed it today and you went to work on it. That would give everyone else the go-ahead to work on the balance of the transaction. You know, I can't tell you that if this item was put off till next week, that it wouldn't, that everyone wouldn't be okay, but next week it will be the same decision that you have tonight. I mean, it will. I mean, I don't want to tease you. It will be the same decision. We have to cut some of this project down. I mean, the project has to be, has to be cut down.
Okay, if we approve getting this extra $4.425 million loan, that they said they could get us the money in the middle of the month, but I thought that we may not have to spend this money, so.
No, it'll be authorization, and then, of course, it's based on what we take.
We
know.
pull
I
it
mean,
out if we need it.
If you need it, yeah. I mean, you're not gonna do it where it all gets funded at once. I mean, it'll be drawdowns,
But we
correct?
have to increase the rates.
Presumably, I mean, these financings presumably are fully funded
Okay.
at the time of closing. I mean, they can be structured where they're drawdown notes. Typically, there's an interest cost to doing that. I mean, the bank's gonna
Okay.
make their money one way or the other. So, you know, I would expect the rate would be something higher that would end up being somewhat equivalent. I mean,
What would you expect?
I mean, I couldn't even tell you, maybe quarter, 0.5%.
25 to 50, yeah, 25 to 50 basis.
Of course, if you didn't have this, you could reduce, the other, the borrowing from bank first too.
I mean, if we have some certainty, I mean, that's another issue why we're structuring this transaction as a taxable transaction. When you do a tax exempt transaction, there are rules. You have to reasonably expect that you're going to obligate at least 5% of the funds within 6 months, that you're going to expend all of the funds within 3 years. And so it's not to say that that wouldn't happen here, but we can't make a reasonable expectation. We can't certify that at the time we close the transaction. Now, what would be approved is a $4.5 million financing that would provide the $4.3 million in project funds. If we know prior to closing, 30 days from now, okay, we only need $3.5 million instead of $4.5 million, we could close on a smaller amount and be able to do that. So, but once we execute that closing, then we have that. Now, if you only need to use $2.5 million of it for the hospital,
You pay it
another
back.
good thing.
You
Well,
pay it down,
I mean,
right?
There's a couple of different things. I mean, I think we would stipulate that we want prepayment provisions that would allow us, and again, because it's a taxable financing, this doesn't cause us any IRS problems, that we could pay back the extra money, go ahead and pay it down. That way we only amortize, $2.5 million or $3.5, whatever the number ultimately is, or you could utilize it for some other project that you think you need to have funds moving forward on, whether it's, you mentioned the dam, it's engineering costs related to that, or whatever the case may be. But, you would have some options with that options and not restrictions on it. But yeah, we would anticipate if you wanted to, you could just pay it down, amortize the lower amount, and, unless there were a bank that gave us an interest rate that said, you can't prepay it, but we'll give you a much lower interest rate, and then that's just a math question of is it worth it to go ahead and take the much lower rate. I mean, kind of an important point, or that will become an important point in a moment here. In order to approve this financing, one of the things that you see in the resolution that's on that agenda item is the concept of waiving competitive bidding. And if you're not familiar with that, let me explain that. That's not competitive bidding like you think on a construction project. Under the public trust statutes, in order for a public trust to issue debt, you can either have a 2/3 approval, which would be 6 out of 9 members approving it, and do it on a competitive basis, in which case you pick a date certain, you advertise in the newspaper, and then your bids come in on that day, and you take, the lowest interest rate that you get. It's a very archaic way to do it, and it's only used for general obligation bonds. I mean, I think I've seen about 2 competitive sales done on a revenue deal in 20-plus years. It just isn't used very often. There's a provision that allows you to do what's called a negotiated sale, where you waive competitive bidding, and it allows you to negotiate with the bondholder. Chris is going to administer a competitive process because we structure the transaction the way we want it to be. He's going to put out a bid packet. Banks are going to send back and say, basically write a number on the line, here's our interest rate, and we take what the lowest one is. And so it is a competitive process. but it's a negotiated sale for purposes of state law, which means it requires a 3/4 majority of the authority and the city to approve it. So that means we need 7 out of 9 people voting yes, and I know we only actually have 8 people right now. So it requires 7 out of 8 people in order to approve that transaction. So just taking that into consideration when we get there, that's kind of where we need to be in order for that action to be taken.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I know none of us like this, and it's your town. I'm from somewhere else, you know? But, you know, I've been working on your hospital since 1986. And, you know, I think the hospital is important for a community and certainly important for your community. This decision is the same decision, I mean, you know, if you wait a week or two, it's although it may be the wrong thing to give to the public, it's the wrong message to give to Stillwater and to Bank First and to Medifund. I'm just telling you, if this is in fact your priority, and you have told me it's your priority, and I've been working on it like it's your priority, it would be my recommendation that you move forward with this, and then we try on the other side to see what savings that we can get on both equipment, the machines. I mean, you had asked where could there be some savings. There's machines that are $650,000. You know, if we wanted to lease them, I've already asked Stillwater if they would lease them. No. You know, they've lost $6 million. They don't want to lease these machines. They want the communities to supply the hospital with the equipment, and then they will come in and run it. But if you want to retain your hospital, albeit an REH, but it's what can be funded. If we could have a critical access hospital, it would be better. You know, I think I told you in O'Keene, critical access, they have 4.8 daily census there. How? I don't know. 1,000 people in that town. 4.8 daily census. But they do, and they're critical access. So when they have losses, those losses go back and figure out what their rates are going to be. So the rates are higher. So they keep it running. So does Fairview. We don't have that. We haven't had that.
We can't, right?
We can't have that.
Due to our locale.
We're too close
And
to
so this,
Stillwater.
you were too close.
That's
So
good.
this is the device that the hospital can be run in the black. And it's our, I mean, it's our shot. And it's not exactly what we had. I mean, it's not, but it does keep an emergency room, it does keep, you know, it does keep services here. And, you know, about the 5%, you know, it's 5%, and the truth is your electric rates are high. Your water is not high, okay? I'm telling you. You know, Enid's 750, Stillwater's 750, Norman's higher than that. Your water and sewer are not high, but your electric is high. I mean, it is high. And I can't take that away. But the majority of this is the money, as Meredith has said, is run from the electric.
Yep, it would take a 50% increase in water rates to generate. I mean, just if you wanted to put it on water by itself. If you wanted to put it only on water, sewer, and garbage, completely excluding electric, it would be a 22.5% increase.
I mean, that's how easy, I mean, because you're still going to be
It's the
paying the same
same.
amount.
No,
extra.
no, I know, but
Just to make
but when
it
you break it up,
even,
I mean, what
yeah, to make it balance.
I broke it down because the argument is electric rates are expensive here. So
What, have we decided or have any more inklings of what we're going to do with the other half of the hospital?
Yes,
Is it anything that would be income generating?
yes. And we may even be able to sell the other part of the hospital. There's an economic development venture right now on someone that's interested in putting an operation there, and there will be phone calls, on that. Yes, the answer is yes. Now, how far along is it? I'm getting emails about every 3 days about it, and they're wanting to set up the call and get talking about it. So, yeah, there is that possibility. And that, of course, could be help. We went back. Before this, I went to USDA, back to USDA. I went back to the powers that be. I went back looking for any dollar that I could come up with to make this less burdensome on the public, because there's nothing about this that I like. This is hard. This is a really hard decision. But given what we've done in the past, and given what our priority is, and given the importance of this to our people and to our companies, if you hate it, I just think that you almost have to hold your nose and vote for it. I don't know what your option is. Your option is you could take another option, and we could get a letter from Stillwater. That's probably what I expect, serving us notice of something. That is to say they wouldn't give us time. Even if we structured it that we need more time, I'm not saying that they wouldn't, but not a lot.
When we passed the 1% sales tax that went to a vote, what was the percentage on that? It was like
80.
80%.
Yeah, and I went back to see about, renewing that, doing a renewal on that. Had no idea. Had we known that this would come out, we could have extended the term of
10.
of that tax.
In a 10?
Yeah, it's 10, but it's 10 plus 2. And remember, right now, since May,
Right,
we've been
yeah.
banking $50,000 a month into an account.
Right.
And that will continue until this closes, and then the money has to go, into the financing. Do understand two things. I think that the rates don't go into effect until it closes, and there's a sunset clause that the rates go off at the time the indebtedness is paid off. And you might say that's never happened. Well, it has happened. It happened on the structure over the water basins. That was a 10-year adder that was added to the water rates, and when that indebtedness was paid off, that adder came off, so our water rates went down. So we do respect, those sunset provisions in the ordinances. I just don't know I'm at a loss to tell you
I'm not
a
against
different
Rob.
option. I don't have another. If I did, I'd pitch it to you. And
You've done your job, and we were all in until this $4 million came up and no money to cover it. And that's what got me, is that it's so much more than what we worked with over the past year or 2 to 3, It's just shocking to me. It's nothing you've done or nothing you could have done. It just...
So if we get all these loans signed off on, we close on everything, when do they start construction?
I would say January 1st.
And how long is it?
18 months.
18 months.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have to be paying, we won't even know if we have to spend that 4 million, but we'll have to start paying it back before we even know if we have to spend it. Does that make sense?
Right.
Because they're saying
The
that our
interest will
first
be accruing
payment is
then.
in 24.
Yeah, there'll probably be 4 months when we'll be,
And
Yeah,
we'll
it'll be-
just have started construction, and we wouldn't know if we really needed all that money or not.
Of course, you know, I mean, some of that money, new market tax credits going to pay Metafund, going to pay the lawyers, going to pay the cost of that
I'm
insurance.
talking about our 4 million.
Right.
4 million. even
So
though-
if,
Depending on how they
if
construct
we
it.
go to borrow
We have
it
5 million
and they give
with,
it to us in September, we have to make a payment in the spring of
Right.
24, and we're not even done with construction yet to know if we have to spend that money or not.
We'll have that loan and then plus the $5 million one with Bank First. as
Well, we will have the bids. We will know the number in say in December,
Once
because
the architect.
when we enter
gets
into
to
the
the
contract.
100%.
I'm confused.
Of the
The
design.
architect's been working on this for months and we're at 30%. And now we're saying in 3 months, we're gonna be at 100%?
Well, I'm not the architect. What have they said? I mean, under the agreement, they're supposed to have this done a month before the end of the year, in December, yes,
Right.
under agreement, yes. I don't know
So
the
in
exact date.
December, we'll know whether or not we have to spend the $4 million.
No, apparently, we're going to, I mean, if we're going to do this, we're going to incur the
whole amount.
the whole amount. Yeah, and we'll have to pay a part of that, and there will be a principal, I mean, we're gonna have to get a inability to pay down on principal. I mean, at a taxable rate, that's, I mean, I haven't taken it. All my notes are taxable, and I haven't done one that I can't pay early. Well, what note have I ever gotten that I haven't paid early? I can pay my mortgage early, right?
Yeah, I mean, we'll certainly
Yeah.
specify in the bid
And
package.
that shouldn't be hard.
It needs to be prepayable. I mean, that's easy enough to do, and,
Yeah.
as I say, I mean, unless somebody just came in and said, well, you know what, we'll give you a ridiculously low interest rate if you don't pay it, then that's something you could consider at that point in time, does it make sense?
And then you would come back.
But more than likely, most of the banks that we expect will be interested in this, they won't have any, most of their notes typically are prepayable, so.
But I think you were actually asking a different question, if I heard you correctly, right?
Yeah, and I did too, I heard a different question too. So you would borrow the full amount.
Right.
You'll start amortizing it, so we'll make payments, I mean, the first semi-annual payment would be March or April,
Yeah.
or so next spring. And at some point along the way, you know, maybe it's December, January, whenever it is, there's a determination of, you know, how much do you need to hold back at that point for contingent? How much do you actually need? How much of a contingency do you want to keep on hand? You know, whether it's 5% or 10%. You know, and then if there's an excess over and above that, you could pay that chunk down. And then when you get through to the end of construction and you determine, okay, we've still got some money left and we're done with the project, you could pay another chunk down with what's left over. So, I mean, you'll have that flexibility. So yes, you have to incur the full debt at the front end, but you've got the ability to prepay it. So you might only, you know, you might have 3 or 4 months worth of interest that you pay on the full amount. I mean, the good news is, you know, interest rates are higher, but the money that you're actually earning on accounts while it's sitting in a project fund is actually quite a bit higher now. It's not 7%, but it's been, what, 4.5%? 5%. So it's not like a couple years ago when you were earning 0 on it while it sat there in the bank. So, I mean, there's some, you know, it's not all lost there. I mean, and those excess dollars you can use for the debt service or for project fund if you needed to, or prepay down on it when you get to that point. So again, it's a taxable obligation. We've really got full ability to do that at what seems to be most advantageous at those times.
This is huge to our city, and I have a question, but it's actually not even for you. You're included in the conversation, but it's not your question. As big of a deal as this is to our city, why are they not here with you?
Why are they not?
Why is Stillwater? Why are the CEOs? And why aren't any of those people here with
At the
you?
hospital people?
Yeah.
Well, I can't speak to that, but I would say that they expect, I mean, part of the deal is our part is providing the facility and the equipment and the machines that go ping. That's our part. But I can't answer that question because I would want to be here, you know? So I can't answer it, but you know, that is our part.
So, and I don't mean this in a smart-ass way, I'm sorry, but it was our part when it was $8 to $10 million. And that's what we told our city about.
There to Jackson.
Oh, it's just, I don't know that Stillwater, I mean, we just found out about it. I don't know if Stillwater had full notice that this, what all was gonna be on the agenda today. I don't know. So the earlier, I guess I now want to follow up with your question. If we realize sometime in December, January timeframe that we come in 2 million, I'm just gonna throw a number out there, 2 million under the projected 17, meaning that we only need half the loan roughly. Can we sunset the rate increase to a certain extent? I understand that may not be exactly half, but throwing fake numbers out right now, can we adjust that rate?
Only if the loan documents say we can.
Because we'll still have to make debt service coverage.
Yeah, I know we have to cover what but if we end up using only half and pay down the other half.
The rate would disappear quicker because you would have paid, you know, a substantial part of the principal, so it wouldn't last as long.
Yeah, so
I think that's the answer.
So the city under the authority city under its existing debt obligations, and this would be a supplement to an existing structure that already exists. There's a couple notes that are already outstanding that this would be on parity with. The documents require that you maintain a debt coverage ratio. So your net revenues have to be at least 1.25 times what your annual debt service is. I mean, they're well in excess.
The lowest it gets is 2.25 times.
Yeah, I mean, you're well in excess. That's why I say, I mean, you have a good credit structure where you can borrow that again. So your ability to raise or lower rates in the future, I mean, unless you violated that covenant somehow, would not be materially impacted by the way we structure this loan. So yes, short answer, yes, you could go in and you could sunset the rates earlier. And I would also venture to say that with respect to the prepayment, there's maybe a couple of different things you could do. You could pay that half down and say, we're gonna keep our payments kind of where they are and pay it off in 5 years.
Right.
Or we're gonna spread the payment out and cut our payment in half and pay it out over the 10 years. And again, that's a decision that you could make down the road, and we would want to structure it with it. We would structure it with that flexibility in there so that we could make that decision at that time, depending on how much the number is, might influence what direction you want to put it to.
Sure.
So you're saying that we could approve you searching for the loan without raising our rates based on our ability to pay off of PNA?
Well, the answer to that's yes, but
we
650
use
comes,
Yeah,
less
right.
transfers, right.
It's gotta
But
come
you
from
can
somewhere.
realize some of that by cost savings, which you're doing in part by reviewing, replacing employees and, you know, some of the measures that you're doing. You're doing that right now.
And doing something with the other half of the hospital.
Isn't doing something with the other half of the hospital, yes.
And also,
Yeah,
the
I'm not
4.4
ahead,
would be
but Chris,
less
I mean,
if
that's-
you cut
We agree with that.
this
Yeah.
1,000,003 off, right? This number would be smaller. Isn't that what I understood earlier?
Say that one more time, I'm sorry.
From here, you said there was $1.3 million that could be taken off.
Yes. Yes, I don't think that'll be more than that.
Okay.
I don't think it'll be more than that, based on what they tell me. But I will tell you this, I mean,
Right.
and Meredith, you ought to speak up, I mean, because we
I'm
didn't
not
raise.
getting into all this.
No, but because we didn't raise the rates, right, because we didn't raise the rates, we did a budget, you know, our budget already has some kind of loss. Our general fund goes down $800,000. Because we gave the raises we did, and because we did the health insurance, and because we didn't pass the rate.
$387,000.
Huh?
$387,000.
I thought it was more than, but you're the number person, okay?
That's the PMA loss.
Well, and 4 weeks ago, we were worried about those raises. And we were worried about it costing 100 and something thousand at first, and now we're looking at almost 700.
So I don't, you know, I mean, how much do we have to transfer? How much can we get away with?
Well, right now, we're budgeted to transfer over $3 million. Let me get that.
Right to the city.
Correct.
And so what we're saying is that we would transfer $3 million less, 600 and, is that $40,000?
It's about $625,000.
$625,000. So tell me what that effect is in this budget. It's,
I guess, a deficit?
yeah, well, I mean, we're gonna have to start,
It'd be about $1 million.
huh?
About $1 million.
Yeah, about $1 million.
Yeah, 625.
Yeah,
I know you're trying to lead me down a path, Bryce.
No,
sorry,
no, I'm just
not following.
saying that you've got to find those cuts. Which,
Only two ways to do it.
Right.
Cuts or increase rates, right?
right,
It's got a balance. Right now, we're at a $326,000 loss budgeted for fiscal year '24 for the entire city.
okay.
Because we didn't do the rate increase.
Because we did not do a rate increase, we included things, we included some capital improvements in these numbers. You all went through that as far as balancing what you wanted to do as far as employees and raises and healthcare, no rate increases, capital improvements. That was that 2-month-long process and 7 drafts of a budget.
And I believe the second deficit passed in a row,
Excellent.
if I recall correctly.
You are correct.
What'd you say?
You are correct.
The second deficit passed in a row.
Budget deficit, yes.
Budget deficit, yeah. We passed one, I think, the previous year.
Because the previous year, we only did a 2% increase when the CPI was
8.
8 or 9.
9.54.
Yeah.
Nine, or,
Yeah,
it was 9.
And 9.1 was the last number I remember.
And the capital and
And
things.
then this year, we didn't do any, and the CPI was
5 and 5.2.
So we've had 14% of CPI that we have increased to only 2%.
That we absorbed.
Yes.
Yeah, that we have absorbed 12% CPI.
Correct.
In the past 2 years. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Numbers.
You know, the Russ makes the point of you will have to cut expenses. You cannot not do the transfer. You got to transfer what you transfer. You can make cuts, and then he points out again the $1 million of capital improvement that we have. We took some money out of that for the tractor today. We've talked about doing the railroad and doing the roof on the buildings.
So that's already accounted for in the budget.
Yes, yeah, but I just want to bring that up because those are big numbers, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just, you all know this from our budgeting. The police department and 911 in and of itself are right at $2 million. I mean, that's That's the cost of just having those two departments, and that's not anything else that we do in the city. You all know these numbers from budgeting. Ambulance is $1.2 million. Fire's $500,000. So those core services that we've developed and that I think do a great job in this community, that's what it takes to keep them good and running.
So does anyone have any other questions regarding the utilities? Seeing none, so what we will do, so here with item 11. So our options are that we have a motion to approve, or we don't make a motion, we can continue this discussion at another time. What I'll do is I'll give us about a minute. Think that if nobody makes a motion here in the next minute or so, I'll take that as we will continue this discussion on our next meeting. If everyone is okay with that. Okay.
Is there any kind of way that we could have a meeting with the council with Stillwater? Like, actually with Stillwater, not with...
We can call and invite them out. We can even have
I
that be an
mean-
emergency meeting between now and our next meeting. We can have that be in our next meeting.
Because I'd like to get straight to the source and let's figure out what we really want to do, not just, hey, we're just going to allow everybody to toss some numbers out there, and we don't even know that that's the right number, but we're still liable for that entire number. I mean,
Well, we're only gonna pay what it costs. I mean,
Russ points out that we need to let Metafund know tomorrow what we did. And I mean, understand if we're not going to do this, I'm not threatening you, I'm just telling you, they have this credit, they want to put it with a worthy project, they need to close before the year end. And we've been on this with them for about 2 months. And so we were the project, he's just,
well, they gave us an extension till into September. What-
yeah, well, it's all contingent on whether we can close this. If we can't show that we can close this, then they're going to move on.
But they can't move on till the end of September, right?
No, I mean, that was just an oral thing. There isn't a, they could move on tomorrow if they want to. I mean, they've told us that they will move closing at the end of September, but.
So that was an oral, they said that to you?
They probably said that to Rich Johnson. I haven't spoken to Blake. I haven't spoken to Blake.
So it was to McAfee and Taft.
Yes.
So,
So
okay, most likely,
Needs
if
to be
we
in writing.
do not, I'm sorry, most likely, if we do not go forward with this loan to be able to say that, yes, we can cover all the costs and blah, 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 then this just all goes downhill because we are designated as a rural emergency hospital already, right?
Yes, we haven't received money.
But Stillwater Medical Center will not stay there if we do not remodel? Is that,
Yes, that's absolutely true.
if we do not remodel, even though we are a rural emergency hospital now, they will not stay.
That's correct.
They will pull out.
If we don't provide a facility that's more efficient.
Right. Well, that's up to standard. Yeah. And we had a vote. Now, I know the money is not what we thought it was gonna be, but the people voted and they want a hospital. And they knew it was gonna be a rural emergency hospital. So, big stickler is the fact that it's gonna cost a lot more than what we thought it would.
There's no doubt that we need it with the manufacturing plants we have in here.
Yeah.
But, is it proper to ask someone from the audience something?
Yeah, you can.
Marvy, I want to ask you, put you on the spot, but listening to the conversation tonight, do you think we've done due diligence and everything we've discussed, or do you think this is a major priority? Can you kind of address it as like a person from the community?
If you feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Don't mean to put you on the spot.
I'm just glad I'm not on the council. I think, I don't know how to answer that. I mean, if we were to level it all out and put it out there, would people still vote yes? I don't know.
I just,
To let you know, Bryce stepped out to call Rich to get a confirmation on that oral
When everything's so far
promise that Stillwater would step out.
I just think when there's this much money.
Mhm.
Right, and who's to guarantee that we'd even get all this again?
Yeah.
Right.
I just think when there's this much money, we should at least see what the town feels about it. That's why they voted in the first place. But they voted for half of what we're looking at.
Well, I mean, they voted for a 1% sales tax, and that's what they got. They got a 1% sales
To-
tax, but what we're doing now.
To keep the hospital.
To keep it.
To keep
it
the
at the time.
Right.
Right. But what we're doing now is proposing that we raise rates,
Mhm.
5% when.
move forward.
When
Right.
really, in the past 2 years, we should have gone up 14%
Mhm.
to keep up with inflation. Oh, gosh.
But, I mean,
So, no, let me get this, the utility rate would drop once the loan is paid.
Yes, sunset clause.
See what now? The utility rate would drop once the loan was paid.
The 5% that is
10
added
years.
for the
That
loan
5%
would drop off.
If it's paid
when the
off
loan
earlier, it drops off
is
earlier.
gone.
That's
My
what they were
concern
saying
is it's
earlier.
gonna be 10 years, and then what money are we gonna use to do other things in the community? Because we talked about we were gonna need a rate increase to do other things, and you know,
Okay, our current budget, we have $1 million for capital,
$1 million, specifically, it's for water project, but yes.
Yeah.
but for capital improvements.
Yes.
So if we did do that every year, that'd be $1 million every year for capital improvements, right? And if we didn't have $1 million in capital improvements to do, then.
Pay it down.
Well,
That
that
$1
million-
million is what's creating part of the loss. So,
Mhm.
remember, when we adopted that budget, it's sitting at a loss position.
I'd also like to, and I don't think this is too much to ask, I'd like to know how our donors feel about this. I mean, when they donated that money, you know, I'm sure they wanted it to cover a certain amount of what we're going through, and now we're gonna add another 4.3, and without explanations being on either side, it really looks bad. And the reason this really looks bad is because we just had a donor give us all this money, and then right after I mean, and I'm not saying this is the case, but this is literally how it looks to some people. We got a donation of a considerable amount of money that was completely awesome. They didn't have to do that, but they did. But once we got that donation, now we need another $4 million.
Right. Part of that grant application with the Malzahn family was with these original numbers. And if we went back and said, hey, actually, we're at this.
There's just,
Yeah, that the optics on that does not look good, that we received $5 million in a grant and the quote went up $4 million.
It looks horrible.
Lawrence, can you elaborate more on where you're coming from as mayor on what we've talked about tonight?
I see myself as one of the council. This rate increase bothers me. I understand it. This is what we're going to use as collateral to go out and get that loan. But it was a month or two ago where I asked, how much more are we going to keep incurring in these costs? And that was back when we were down around that 12 million number. And this pops up, and that just really bothers me. And as you started looking into, the remodel plans and all that, we're seeing things that are unnecessary. There's a lot of items in the remodel that the architects are putting in there that I don't think we need. What does it take to operate a basic REH hospital? Let's do that. And we don't need to replace all the doors. We don't need 15 to 20 administrative offices in our hospital as part of our remodel. It's just things like that. They're just not making sense to me. I wish that myself and Sammy could have been part of this from the beginning, but we came in the middle of it, and the more I look into it, it's just
If we pass
uglier and
this
uglier.
tonight, can we still work with the hospital to get some of those unnecessary things taken out of it and cut the cost?
Yes, the things that the mayor mentioned were all add alternates. That we're not adding back. The real issue is the roof. How much of the roof do you want redone? And that's the lion's share piece, the roof. And then we're talking about the whole entry. It's slick to have hospitals that look neat from the outside, and that they're modern and all that, but none of that's necessary. So all that can fall off. The door cost, Mayor, was what, $255,000 to replace doors. We're not replacing doors, and Stillwater has agreed to this. They're not. We're talking about not moving the MRI, okay? And that was going to be a big cost in placing that. We're talking about them not moving their administrative office, not remodeling their administrative offices, but using that. So there's a whole number of things that they're trying to cut out of this. I'm not involved in the process. I'm just hearing about it afterwards, but I am getting memos on it that speak to it. So none of the add alternates, and then except for the roof, and then we need to also think about those add alternates, which may better make the whole building better. Like if you say only roof the part of that hospital, is that really what you want to do, or do you want to roof the whole, the whole thing? Because if you're going to roof it, roof the whole thing. But we don't have to. So we can cut this as sharp as you want, and we can have you be involved in all those cuts. You had appointed Joe and Scott to be a part of that committee, and they meet like every Monday, and I'm sure you couldn't go to all of the meetings. A lot of them are on Skype and the like, so you can go to all of them. But these numbers aren't that foreign. This is what the Blackwell Hospital looked like in pre-COVID. You understand their bid, their GC, that all occurred in December of 2019. By March of 2020, we were full blown into COVID, and.
Well, I do know the meeting that was today, I actually missed, but I did contact the person in charge to get the
Mari.
updates.
Mari, yeah.
To get the updates of that meeting and what went on, and you know, just really wanted to voice our concerns about the cost of the project. I mean, I think everybody had a sticker shock at first, and so the points of the meeting, some of the points of the meeting were with concern to the cost. So everybody was working real diligently to figure out how to get that number down. I don't know what that's going to look like. I guess, you know, they are working. There's conversations going on. I think there was some going on all afternoon, and I'm sure there'll be some all week to figure out, you know, how deep we can cut, and what we can cut, and still be able to be designated as an REH. That's kind of the main concern. We want to be an REH, but we don't want to have all the sparkles, or we can't afford to have all the sparkles that come with it. So I don't know, in the beginning I kind of felt like, even though I was put on the committee to go to these meetings, I kind of felt like we were just personally I felt like I was just kind of watching what was going on. A lot of the decisions felt like they were made previous to us being allowed to be in there. But, you know, maybe I'd take on some responsibility to not be more fully involved with that, so there would be more, be able to put in more input. But you would like to think that you have people doing those things for you that are doing their due diligence, and that's not anybody here. I just know that going through the process with construction, we always seem to shoot for the moon, so to speak, and then get back down to reality, try to get back into budget. And I hope that's what we can agree to do within this week. I don't know. Do we have more time than the end of the month, Bryce?
Well, I don't know.
Okay. So we worst case, we need to see how deep we can cut till next Monday. Maybe we have a special meeting between now and then to see where they're at. I'm hoping that they'll have some better numbers in a week.
The architects may have, what Stillwater's willing to accept and what they're doing, but any GC, anything from Nabholz, that's way on down the line. That won't come before September 30th. I mean, it'll come after that time.
The numbers that we have, they'll cut from those, and then.
Yeah. Well, you're right. They do have. You can cut off the numbers that you've got.
And then they'll have to get more specific later down the road. And I think what did you say, the 2.4 or something million that we're talking about that you won't cut is what the roof, basically the roof cost, and maybe another item or two that's on that alternate ads. I don't know, I don't want to make it official, but I'd like to wait until next week to make the decision, if we have that time to do so, to see what numbers would feel like. Maybe it gives us some opportunity to talk to the community and feel them out. maybe fill them in. Maybe we need to figure out what's the information, what do we stand to lose if we don't move forward?
The hospital.
Well, yeah, and what does that mean? I sometimes I don't think people understand what that truly looks like.
No hospital. That's.
Well, yeah, but
I mean, is it
what does that cost us? I mean, we're all looking at the economic development. You're looking
Without a
at
hospital,
economic
everyone gets
development, there's no
transferred.
hospitals, there's no more
What's
businesses.
there, that's it. Right.
So the state.
The expense on the other side could be
What
cut,
did
it's
you
just
say?
this we have to decide on, yes or no.
Right.
I just feel like that if we tell them that we'll approve the 4.3, then they don't have any reason not to spend the 4.3.
I understand.
Well, we control what we
yeah.
have done, right? I mean,
Like he said, we can be involved in all the
I would like to see us
details.
getting more involved.
I
I don't
do.
feel like we were to begin with.
Especially the $20,000 doors, that's silly.
Mhm.
I'd like to hear them say that we could be involved.
Or like the roof, you said is the highest expense. Is that what you?
As the ad alternate, yes.
The ad alternates,
This
of
was
the ad
around
alternates, the roof
That's
is
the highest
half of the cost.
To do the full roof, so around 2 million.
So how much is to do the full roof?
That is,
That is the
yeah,
2 million.
The full roof
Yeah.
is 2
Oh.
million. That's what we know currently.
Mhm.
So we can only save $1 million if we only did half. Ish. But we lose the ability to use the other half of the hospital.
Maybe,
because it
you know,
makes-
for a term, unless a new buyer or renter agrees to do that as a prepaid rent or.
What is our ballpark range of what we could either sell or rent the other half of the hospital?
Well, we're gonna have an appraisal done, but that's not gonna come till,
After.
but there's gonna be an appraisal done. And that's dependent on Powers get the abstracts done to the appraiser, that they're willing to take Marie, the architect's plans and specs and do an estimate on what those are together with the GC. And, you know, because it's not built yet, so he's based on what there is and what you're planning on doing, coming out with a fair market value
Of what? Of the other half?
of what the hospital.
The other
The
half.
other half,
Something about
the other half of the
Yeah,
hospital.
well, their
It's
estimate,
not-
because they're getting a mortgage on the whole hospital, will be based on the whole hospital, and I don't know that number. And there's never been there's never been an appraisal on the hospital.
What kind of ballpark do you think we could get to rent out the other half of the hospital? Do we have any inkling of what?
We get
Or is it-
$2,500 a month from Grand Lake to rent out the small building across the street. Is that the right number?
Yes.
Yeah. So, you know, I mean, if there's the right
30,000
provider
a year.
there, I think it could be
I'm not gonna estimate.
5 to 10 times that number.
Huh? She said, I'm not gonna estimate.
You're asking somebody to give a number that's just been going to cold.
I mean, I think there's not one person at this table that does not want the hospital. I mean, and I think that really needs to be clear. We all want the hospital. But at some point, we have to quit making decisions on numbers that aren't even here. I mean, yes, maybe the other side will help us with what we're looking at now, but at the same time, we can't get any numbers on it.
But this number stays, right? Next week, if we table this is the number it'll be next week. This will stay, correct? The only numbers that is gonna change is things we cut from
we cut,
the
not the
actual
costs.
building of it. This is always gonna be the same, from what I'm hearing from them.
Well, what I'm
Just
getting at
whether or
though
not
is,
we need to use
It's
it.
whether or not we need to use it or not.
Until a GC gives
A different,
a number, what the gross maximum price will be, until that changes, the answer to your question is yes. Yeah. And that's gonna be based on my conversations, that's gonna be on down the line. You're not gonna have that before September 30th. But we can, as Joe said, take his estimate and cross off, because he's got numbers, so we can cross off numbers, we can say not these alternates, and we can scale it down. Of course, it has to be sufficient for licensure, and it has to be sufficient for Stillwater. I mean, we provide the facility, and they run it at their cost.
And in order for us to pass the application for the loan, to get the loan, we have to have 7 of us agree.
Say that one more time? Oh,
Yes,
Seven of
yeah,
us
7 of 8.
Vote yes.
There's a lot more work to do.
Mhm.
There's a lot more work to do on this until this is final. I am afraid of giving the wrong signal. I'm just afraid of that. That's.
So Joe kind of entertained an idea that we meet again next week. Gives time to kind of take a look at all these additional costs. Ask questions, take a look at it, and we can look at this again a week from today.
Knowing that doesn't actually change anything
Right,
for this.
right.
This decision stays the same.
Mhm.
Next week, I will not be here till Friday.
Next Friday.
Do it now.
I won't be in the state until
Next
Friday.
Monday, you have a speaking engagement.
All right.
Bryce won't be here next week either.
Mm.
I'm going to Alaska. I've never been to Alaska. I'm gonna do what Curtis does. Fishing. I don't fish either, but that'll be fun.
Well,
Did you glean any information on if we
Right.
decide to wait till next week?
did Rich answer?
No, I haven't gotten any.
Mhm.
I did get a hold of, Russ says that he can do Monday, so that's good.
Okay. Okay, Russ.
But no, I didn't get a hold of, Rich. And he doesn't, and he asked, what do we tell Metafund? But, if we,
You say we take it into consideration.
I would doubt that a
Say yes or
one-week
no.
delay, is going to affect that. Well, what does it do to you guys?
I just pushed everything back a week.
Right.
Instead of mid-September closing, it's a week after. You want to give the banks time to look at everything.
Right.
But it's-
But if that Metafund date is still September 30, the end of September, we're still within that, potentially. If that's what was verbally agreed upon.
Yeah, we just have to make sure everybody's here, because
Yeah, everybody's got to be
Can
here.
everybody be here next Monday?
We have to have
Lord.
7.
I'll be on a plane.
Right, he'll be on, he
And
won't
that's
be
why
here
I'm
until next
saying
Friday.
it's gonna
Well,
take whoever's left.
Yeah, besides you.
Right. Oh, yeah. we did
Sorry,
everybody, yeah.
I heard.
Because with all of us besides Curtis here, that would be the 7th.
Well, if you don't have 7, you can't do the deal. Gloria says she can't be here.
Well, I can,
Oh, you
but
can? Okay.
I don't know how, because he's supposed to speak Monday night at the Noble County Republican Women, and I'm the one that required the speaker.
That's it, well, that's it.
Huh?
That's at 5:30, yeah, we can still meet. We can meet at a different time, we can meet a little bit later.
6:30 maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever time.
We could leave.
Yeah. I'm not gonna speak at that meeting for as long as we're here tonight. I'm not gonna get in there at 5:30 and be there past 10.
And I think for a decision like this, they would.
They would understand.
Understand.
Yeah.
So what we're doing is having a special meeting for number 11.
That would be number 11, and essentially number 13 as well. Because those two go hand in hand.
13.
And then the PMA
Right.
resolution too.
Right.
So it would be both.
Right.
City and PMA.
Right, because those would go together. And so in that time, we would want everyone to have access, so we'll send that out, all the additional adders, all the additional costs to everybody that we can all look at between now and then. I mean, we can send out the drawings as well, so everyone can see the plans that the architects have drawn up so far. That way everybody's privy to that information. And I really think that moving forward, like, when we receive information, it doesn't just come to the mayor. I try and distribute that out whenever I get something, but it really needs to go to the entire council, not just one person, two people. It needs to go to everybody, so everybody's informed.
I think the other thing that we do, whether we do it Monday or whether we do it this week, we could have Mari,
Yes.
the architect, and Stillwater Stephen or Courtney at a meeting one day at City Hall, and you could set up subgroups that could come and ask questions if there was interest in doing that.
I think that's a great idea.
I think, that's where you're gonna get real answers and get comfortable with it or
Yeah.
not.
Maybe
And so-
moving forward with something like that, like, I wish that's something that we had done from the beginning. And that's something that we can learn, when we move on to other projects, we do things like that. And there's an architect or, that we meet with them in smaller groups to get caught up on things. Make it so. So do we have a motion to move item 11 and 13 to next week?
So moved.
Plan on.
Second.
Okay, motion and second. Let's plan on, so next Monday at, does 6:30 work for everyone?
Yep.
Okay, 6:30 and then, yeah, Joe, Terry,
Be here,
Lori.
be here.
All right. Roll call.
Koldari,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Coffee,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Marshall,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Worthing.
Yes. All right, see where we're at here.
And it'll be here.
We skipped around on the.
I know, we skipped around so much. I've been trying to keep track over here on a sticky note of where we're at.
23.
Yeah.
And the meeting will be here, right?
Yes. As right now, we can plan on here. I'll reach out to the Malzahn family and see if we can meet over there. Because we'll have this posted before, so if we can have it over there, then we can do that. And then between now and then, we'll get in touch with Mari and then with Steven or Courtney. Set something up for maybe Wednesday or Thursday. See if we can, or just before the next time we meet. And we can meet with the architects and with Stillwater as well. So they can help explain those things before we meet next week.
We on 16?
All right, so let's go to item 24. Well, I mean, we can do item 23 real fast. Is there any new business? No? Okay. Item 23 is done. All right. Item 24, consider convening into executive session to discuss negotiations with the local 4242 paraprofessional firefighters pursuant to Title 25, Section 307.B.2 of the Oklahoma statutes as amended.
Mr. Mayor, before we, I know we've done that, but they accepted our offer. So, I mean, we can go into executive session if you like, but they have, we gave you a copy, and they've accepted, you know, what we offered back.
And discuss that a little bit.
Yeah, we can take a look at it and explain what changes were.
Yeah, I
or what
mean,
they're
we can
still-
do it, we can do it here, we don't have to convene. I mean, we can if you want to.
I think we are.
We can stand up and stretch, yeah. We're.
I need to rest.
Yeah. All right, so we got a motion, do we have a second?
I second.
All right, 2 seconds.
Goldar.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Coffee.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Wortham.
Yes. Okay, we have a motion to reconvene.
So moved.
Second.
And we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Goldar.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Brown. Coffee.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Wortham.
Yes. All right, back into our regular meeting. So, item 26, take any action deemed required pursuant to contract negotiations, including approval of the CBA with the local 4242 Perry Professional Firefighters.
Motion to approve contract with local 4242.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Roll call when you're ready.
Goldar.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Brown. Coffee.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Wortham.
Yes. Okay, item 27, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Everybody seconds, all right. Roll call when you're ready.
Goldar.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Brown. Coffee.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Wortham.
Yes. All right. And let me know when you're ready.
I'm ready.
All right. So let's have a regular meeting for the Perry Municipal Authority, Perry Facilities Authority.
No.
Or no, this is,
PMA.
yep, PMA, sorry.
Okay.
Get down there.
Scroll way too far.
Way too far. The Perry Municipal Authority meeting, August 21st, 2023. Roll call, please.
Goldar.
Here.
Williams.
Here.
Brown.
Here.
Coffee.
Here.
White.
Here.
Marshall.
Here.
Davis.
Here.
Wortham.
Here. All right, I declare quorum. Item 1, consent agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Goldar.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Coffee.
Yes.
White. I can speak English really. Marshall.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Wortham.
Yes. Okay, item 2, we are going to move to next week to our meeting, special meeting that we'll be having.
Motion to continue to our special meeting.
Okay,
Second.
all right. Roll call, please.
Goldar.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Brown. Coffee.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Wortham.
Yes. Okay, we have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Goldar.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Brown. Coffee.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
Davis. Wortham.
Yes. All right, moving right along.
I'm still here.
I'm ready.
You ready? All right. We're gonna have a regular meeting for the Perry Facilities Authority, August 21st, 2023. Let's have roll call.
Goldar.
Still here.
Williams.
Here.
Brown.
Here.
Coffee.
Here.
White.
Here.
Marshall.
Here.
Davis.
Here.
Wortham.
Here, item number 1, consent agenda.
Motion approved.
Second.
All right, motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Goldar.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Coffee.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Wortham.
Yes. Item number 2, adjourned.
Says
Second.
adjourn. I don't do that.
All right.
Later. Goldar.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Coffee.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Wortham.
Yes.